Well, a terrific Tuesday. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Also live at sports1440.ca. Anywhere where you get your apps, whether it's the Stingray, iHeartRadio, or the Radio Player app. Thanks, as always, for joining us. And it is a busy, busy time. MLB playoffs are going on right now. And yesterday kind of felt like a playoff day as the Mets and the Braves each needed to win a game. They both did, and they move on. So, and they're both in action tonight. New York's in Milwaukee. Atlanta's in San Diego for the late game. We have the Detroit Tigers, the surging Detroit Tigers, who have been unreal since August 8th. Come out of nowhere, really, to make the playoffs, and they lead Houston 3-0 right now. Also, KC is in Baltimore tomorrow. Everybody will play again, and then if need be, on Thursday as well. Then Friday will be a day off, and the next round of the playoffs will begin on Saturday with the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Yankees. And who's the other AL team I'm missing? Anyway, they're all going to open up at Cleveland. Will open up at home, and we'll rock and roll. Of course, Edmonton Oilers. I'll say this. The pace of practice today looked like an NHL practice. They had 14 forwards, 8 defensemen, 2 goalies. Calvin Pickard wasn't on the ice, but he did skate today. Probably not going to play tomorrow. Well, not probably. He won't play tomorrow. And they're hoping maybe by Friday. Doesn't sound like it's anything serious. Just being cautious after he got ran over in that game on the weekend. Raphael Lavoie did not skate. He's nicked up. Chris Knobloch wasn't sure if he's going to be available. He doesn't think it'll keep him out, but he couldn't say for sure if he was going to play tomorrow or on Friday. There are a few guys we know are going to play tomorrow. The Oilers are going to go with they've only got 14 forwards. You know, guys who weren't on the NHL team last year who were skating, who were still remain. Drake Caggiula, who's had a really good camp, and Noah Philp, who's had a great camp. They were there along with McDavid's line with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl was with Skinner and Arvidsson. Henrique was with Brown and Janmark. Derek Ryan centered Podkolzin and Corey Perry, and Philp and Caggiula rotated in on that line. Defense pairings had Bouchard with Ekholm. You had Emberson and Nurse, Kulak and Josh Brown, and then Dermott and Stetcher. Olivier Rodrigue was the second goalie today. So Oilers last night get by Vancouver. Thankfully, the majority of the preseason is behind us. It has been an uneventful preseason, to say the least. The biggest story out of camp has been the play of Noah Philp. I don't think there's any argument on that. What's a bigger story? Here's Noah Philp, who 2 of the last 4 seasons, he didn't play hockey. Remember, in 2021 season with the Bears, they didn't play. Then played in 22, played in 23. Last year, took the year off for personal reasons. Has come back, and he has looked fantastic. Up until today, Noah Philp has earned a spot on the roster. Now, the final 2 games are going to be the hardest games. So we'll see how he looks tomorrow in Seattle and in Vancouver. But I watched practice. I spent a lot of time just focusing on Philp today in practice because it was a much faster paced practice, and Noah Philp does not look out of place. 6'3". He skates well. He scored 2 great goals today in practice. I talked to Stuart Skinner afterwards. He goes, he can shoot the puck. He's got a good shot. Now, he's not going to make it here to be a scorer, but it's nice to have guys who can chip in. Look at him. He's 59% in the faceoff circle in preseason. Now, I know it's preseason, but still, you got to win draws. He kills penalties. He's smart defensively. He can skate. Showed good hands on his goal. A lot to like about Noah Philp. And I know a lot of people think the Oilers are just going to go with 12 healthy forwards and Evander Kane. I've said it all along. I'm not sold on that. And especially the way Noah Philp's playing. If he's better, and I get the understanding and the business side, well, he doesn't require waivers, yada, yada, yada. I don't care at this point. I think he's outperformed Drake Caggiula, and I actually think he's played better than Raphael Lavoie, the other guys who were on the bubble for that spot. I get the theory that Raphael Lavoie needs to clear waivers. It's a risk, sure. How much of a risk? I have no idea. It's basically one where it takes one team to think that maybe the guy can play, but no one's claimed him before. Now, maybe they will. Right now, he has 7 games of NHL experience under his belt. He scored this preseason, so that always looks good. Right? People are watching. But lots of teams have guys like Raphael Lavoie who are right on the cusp of being NHL players. And for whatever reason, they're not. And there's always a variety of reasons. In the case of Lavoie, I think it hurts his cause it doesn't kill penalties right now on this team. It just does. It's hard to fit in. And that's why I said, if he doesn't make this team, first thing I'm doing if I'm Raphael Lavoie, when I'm in the minors, is I'm walking into the coach's office and say, I need to penalty kill this year. Because that changes how people view him. They're like, yeah, the guy can score, big body, can be physical at times, but he also can kill penalties. Well, now we can get him in our bottom 6 and get him in a role and have him contributing. So that's the how I view it for the Oilers here in the final few games of the preseason. You might see McDavid playing both. He went to the coach and said he wanted to play yesterday. He wants to get into a rhythm. There's a reason Connor McDavid's one of the best, man. That guy wants to play. He wants to get his timing down. He's like, I can play a few games. I'm not tired. So you don't become one of the best conditioned athletes in the league and then be like, well, I can't play that many preseason games. So he might play both. We'll see. Originally, they said 4 was the number. Might end up being 5 if he plays the games on Wednesday and Friday. Now, remember, the Oilers play Wednesday, Friday. Then they don't play again until the following Wednesday. So I don't think fatigue's really going to be. The pace of the previous 2 preseason games were not remotely close to what it would be in the regular season. So we'll get to all of that. 833-401-1440. You can text us 833-401-1440 in our inbox. It is the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And hey, you want to get in the games? Of course. Major League Baseball playoffs. You got NFL coming up again. Of course, the NHL, the season begins. You can look at the Oilers are a favorite to win the Pacific Division, something they haven't done. They haven't won their division since 1987. It's the longest active division non-winning drought in the NHL. I didn't word that very well. That was terrible. But the longest any team has gone without winning their division, the Edmonton Oilers, 1987, followed by the New York Islanders, 1988. Now, there's some teams that have never won, Columbus, but they haven't been in the league that long. So there you go. Also, Lotto Max, $40 million. You can get your tickets at playalberta.ca. Also this weekend, the Edmonton Elks. Now, what did I say? All of last week, I would have played Trey Ford because I didn't think the Elks were going to beat him anyway. The Bombers are really good. The Elks aren't that good yet. They've won 13 of their last 51 games, and people were acting like, oh, my God, they're on a roll. They're going to win. Beating Calgary back-to-back is a lot different than playing Winnipeg. It just is. And, yeah, Trey Ford, young guy, had a tough match against them. I would have went right back to him. They didn't. Defense didn't play well, but here's the thing. I keep hearing, well, the defense didn't play well. The defense didn't play well. You're right. Winnipeg beat them deep. Here's the difference. Go back and watch the first half. Edmonton had 3 plays. The receiver was behind the defense, and Bethel Thompson could not connect. And not even close. It's not like they got a fingertip on it. It wasn't close. So you can't scramble. He can't throw deep. Tell me again, please. Enlighten me how he's better than Trey Ford right now. How? What does he do that's better? Oh, he looks a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Yeah, how's that work? How'd that work? 2 and out? 2 and out? What were they, 2 and out in 3 of their first 4 series? Come on. Actually, no, 1, they did gain 4 yards, but then they, so I guess it's 3 and out. 2 and out, 2 and out. Turnover on downs, which wasn't his fault. And then 3 and out. Got some touchdowns in garbage time. Who cares? Like, I found it fascinating that in the game was 10-10 at home. Ford throws a pick. It's 17-10. He gets taken out of the game. The Elks are getting waxed in Winnipeg. Throttled. The game's over when the fourth quarter starts. You don't go to Ford. Are they going to go to Bethel Thompson again this week? And if they do, because I guess they're going to say, well, mathematically, we still have a chance at the playoffs. Okay, so you're going to use math as your reason why. How about this math? 6 and 7 or 3 and 18. Which number do you think's better? 6 wins out of 13, 3 wins out of 21. So if you're going to use math, then why wouldn't you play Trey Ford? Because he does give you the better chance to win over the last 2 seasons, or even this season. When he starts, they're 2 and 1. The rest of the season, 3 wins, and what are they now? 5 and 10. So yeah, they're 3 and 9. No, yeah, 3 and 9, or 2 and 1. Again, if math is their argument that they're mathematically still in it, why wouldn't you go with the guy who's won more games? And I don't know, who's younger, who has a better chance to be the future. I don't know how good Trey Ford's going to be. I've seen glimpses. I can't sit here and say confidently how good he's going to be. All I know is,
here's the load.
Bethel Thompson's not getting better. He's not. Is he the future of your team? I don't understand where they're going. So I'll be curious what comes out of that. They do host the Saskatchewan Roughriders this Saturday. It is a must-win game. They're 5 points back of the Riders. They're 4 back of BC. They got 3 games left. Now they play the Riders, they play Calgary, and they play Toronto.
Next, please enjoy your day.
Riders had a big win. Like, the odds are extremely low that they're going to make the playoffs. Right? We all know that. But, because even if they beat Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan has to lose their other 2 games, and they play Calgary. So, low odds, I would think. BC, Edmonton wins all their games. BC has to, BC, if Edmonton wins all 3, I guess they probably have a better chance of catching BC than they do Saskatchewan. I don't get it. I said it before. The only way the Bethel Thompson decision would have looked good is if they make the playoff. That's it. So, hey, Gregor, Bethel Thompson doesn't get hurt. That's your reasoning, Walter? He doesn't get hurt? Okay. Hey, Gregor, the thing is, Phil gets plenty of ice time and pro experience at Baco. Better to go that route and keep Lavoie here. Well, why? If Noah Phillips is ready right now, and I'll tell you right now, if Noah Phillips here, he'll play. And if he's on the penalty kill, which he will be, he'll play 10, 11 minutes a night. That's fine. I don't have an issue with it at all. Noah Phillips is 26 years of age. He doesn't need a lot more seasoning. If he's ready to roll, I would play him without question. Declan Kruger, of course, filling in early here for the con man. What were your thoughts on the Elks performance?
Uninspiring, I would say, to say the least. Now, as you do know, I'm a Riders fan, so us getting that win against Ottawa with Jeremiah Mazzoli coming in, getting up to second in the West, I was quite happy with the result. But as far as the Edmonton Elks went, uninspiring, not the decision I would have made. You know that. We've talked about it. I understand. I've said this. I guess I can understand the logic if you're making a push. But looking down the line and looking ahead to the seasons to come, it's just a move that is going to make less and less sense and, frankly, become unjustifiable.
Yeah, it's a very odd one for me to say the least. I don't get it, but hey, that's why we'll have different opinions. History will eventually give us a clearer answer. There's no question about it. So, but I don't know. I'm quite surprised. Also, this just coming down that Davante Adams has asked for a trade. Hello, Kansas City Chiefs. Does this make sense? I know it's a division trade, but come on. You're the Chiefs. Rashee Rice is out. Hollywood Brown is out. Pacheco is out. They're still 4-0. But at some point, you need some receivers. Now, I noticed that suddenly that, Travis Kelce gets involved a little bit more. So that's not a bad fallback plan. But Davante Adams to KC, I could see it happening. Deck, it would, in theory, it makes a lot of sense.
It's a great move for Kansas City. I think Davante Adams, sometimes when you see a guy on his second team who he's not in his prime with, people start to associate that with him being a little long in the tooth, a little bit past it. I think Davante Adams is a guy who is still one of the top receivers in the league when he has a competent quarterback. He's still a great route runner. He has great hands, great size. Kansas City, obviously an ideal fit playing alongside Patrick Mahomes. And like you mentioned, the wide receiver injuries make it a target you have to think about. The one thing that you also brought up would be the in-division trades are just so rare, and Las Vegas is going to know that Kansas City has a chokehold on that division. I wonder how willing they'd be to part in division, but if you're getting a return that makes it worth it, you got to do what's best for your club. Maybe hard to say no.
Yeah. So we'll get to all of that coming up. Busy show today. Kevin Woodley is going to join us right away, talk some goaltending. Matt Verderame will talk a little NFL. McCarthy will be by. Terry Ryan in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Keith O'Brien. He was the author of Charlie Hustle. Pete Rose. Of course, Pete Rose at the age of 83 passed away this past weekend. And I still look at Pete Rose. To me, he should be in the Hall of Fame as a player. He was an unbelievable player. He's got the most hits. He was great. I bet on his team as a manager, sure. But that was as a manager, had nothing to do with him as a player. Absolutely nothing. So just my thought. I would have him in. Struddy will be by. Spec, DVD. Man, we are loaded on Tuesday afternoon. And I do want to talk to Struddy specifically about the defense position. And hey, let's call a spade here. Josh Brown has not looked good in camp thus far. It's totally valid. I think the organization is hoping it's preseason. And there's not a lot of emotion in those games that maybe it doesn't play to his strength. We'll see. I'm grasping at straws maybe a bit, sure. But there was one thing in his game that really concerned me, and I'm going to talk to Struds about that. It might not be what you think. I'll talk to Struddy about that one. He played a similar style game, big D-man. So there's something I noticed last night, 3 or 4 different occasions, and I'm like, I don't like that. So we'll get to that. And lots on the goalie situation, Swayman. What does this mean to the Boston Bruins? And, Korpisalo, like, how well can he play there? So we'll get to that. We're also going to talk the rankings of the Pacific Division goaltenders. Where does he rank the Oilers goalies? 1, 2, 3. Right? It's not just a tandem. It's the including the third goalie in the organization. Where does he rank them? That is coming up next on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon. Made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Get ready, Edmonton. The country sensation, the Rec Laws, are coming to the Edmonton Expo Center Arena on October 3rd. It's your chance to see the award-winning duo that's taken the country scene by storm. From Long Live the Night to Feels Like That, the Rec Laws are bringing the party to you during Yeggs Rodeo Week. Don't miss out. Pre-sale tickets available from now until September 16th at EdmontonExpoCenter.com. Public on sale begins September 19th at 10 a.m. The Rec Laws at Edmonton Expo Center Arena on October 3rd.
This week at The Brick, when you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing savings throughout the store, like up to 30% off furniture, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $500 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, when you buy more, we give more. A portion of our sales will be donated to your local Children's Hospital Foundation, helping to transform children's lives with every purchase you make. Some exclusions apply. See in store or online at thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
When you want to recognize the top performer on your team, come create memorable and customized trophies and awards with Elite Promotional Marketing. Elite's in-house design team will help you achieve your corporate award goals. Head to elitepromomarketing.com.
Well, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice. EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365. UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking. Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service. Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project. Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
Hey, it's Kevin Carius. Looking for a truck? Looking for a deal? Then head over to St. Albert Dodge. Right now, save up to $20,000 on 2024 Ram 1500 DT model trucks, including the Sport, the Rebel, Laramie, and Limited Line. It's been a long time since we've seen anything like that. And if you need one more reason to buy, remember that the 2024 Ram 1500 models are the last year of production, featuring the legendary Hemi V8. Head up the trail to see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
$25. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Declan Cougar with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Happy Tuesday to you. Playoffs are here, baby. Woo-hoo. Great time. Great time. I love it. Let's get to Around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. It's back. One of your favorite games with huge prizes, food, cash, and more. Monopoly at McDonald's. It's here for October. Good luck. Only at McDonald's. As we welcome in from In Goal Magazine and at NHL.com, our resident goalie guru, Kevin Woodley, joins us once again. Kev, my man, how you doing?
I'm good, Jason. Yourself?
Oof. Fantastic, man. Thankfully, there's only a few preseason games left. God help us. But it's been like the longest preseason ever. You only have 6 in Vancouver to cover. I have 8.
And it still feels like the dog days. I guess in Vancouver, we've had so many seasons for so long where there were real dog days through all of February and March where the games didn't matter. I forgot what a preseason dog days felt like. This is very much it. I mean, that lineup that Vancouver dressed last night in Edmonton was, there was basically nothing that was indicative of what we'll see here on opening night in Vancouver. And you got to think for the Oilers on the other side, even though they've got some name brand out there. We heard from Quinn Hughes in one of those games where they were on the other end, his only preseason game so far, where he basically just said, you're trying not to get hurt. And I think the injuries, the seriousness of the injuries around the league, whether it's Doughty or Reinbacher or Laine, you have a lot of guys sort of with that in the back of their minds. A tough way to play out there.
Yeah. So we're going to get to the Pacific Division rankings in a second. We've done all of them, but quickly, give me your thoughts on the Swayman situation in Boston. And, they already named Korpisalo the starter for game 1. What's your expectations of Korpisalo and how long can Boston survive without Swayman?
Okay, so first off, I think we're doing the Atlantic today, so they make a perfect way to start because
Oh yeah, you're right. We
Pacific next week.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure my 4 pages of notes were actually relevant today, buddy. So, like I was a little surprised, like a lot of people, at the way the press conference went down yesterday. And I think that's just in general, right? Like we don't expect to hear a term or money thrown out in that way. But like doubly so if you know how Swayman felt and has been open about how he felt about the arbitration process. If you know him as a person and how proud he is and his belief in self, like this just felt like a real miss on the Bruins side in terms of putting that number out the way they did, like almost, almost like challenging him in a way. And like, this is not a guy that backs down. This is not a guy that you challenge. And I know a lot of people, I'll say this too, like, I know a lot of people will be like, look at the games played and $8 million a year is market value. But if he wants to commit to your team for 8 years and you believe that he is an elite talent and everything to this point puts him in that category as a guy who, projects to be in the Shesterkin rarefied air level of goaltender, just including how fast he burst on the scene and the consistency since. The only thing he hasn't done is play a lot. I mean, market on that right now, I don't think he's off to say 8.5, especially when you consider where the cap is going, especially when you consider the expectation Shesterkin is going to reset the market for goaltenders. I understand people saying 8 right now makes him the 5th highest, but it certainly won't in 3 years from now. And so if he's committing for 8, like to me, I look at Sorokin was $8.5 million a year and he wasn't even the starter in New York, which also tells me why I'm hesitant if I'm the other side of this as a manager. But if you've got an elite talent looking for 8 years, you're going to have to pay for it, especially considering forecasting out. Most of those years are going to be a bargain.
Yeah. No. That's fair. I look at his numbers though, and I get why he might want big term, but that position is so volatile outside of a few goalies. And even then, like, remember it was a few years ago, people wanted to write up Bobrovsky. They thought it was done. Right. And then, you know what? They're like, oh, man, it's one of the worst contracts. And obviously he's changed that narrative the last few years. But there's lots of goalies can go up and down. And Swayman's had a pretty small sample size thus far in his career.
Yeah, and I agree. And until you've done it, you haven't done it. And the one thing he's never had an opportunity to do is be a number one from start to finish. We could talk and we could make the comparison to Demko here in Vancouver. We know what the talent is. But it's another thing to get through a season healthy, playing 50-plus games with that talent and maintaining a level of consistency. And Jeremy hasn't done that yet because he hasn't had the opportunity. But the adjusted numbers paint a picture where this is more than just the Bruins environment, although much like the Bob argument, until the environment gets better, nobody can actually see it. And he has played behind a pretty good environment in Boston. He's outperformed it at a pretty consistent margin. I'm with you on the volatility, right? Like that's – so like to me, it feels like the answer here is shorter term. And this is, again, at the risk of that. Can we please have your goalie union card, Kevin Woodley? Term is the one thing I typically avoid if I'm a general manager because of that volatility. Like the Sorokin example works on both sides of this. Like you could say Ilya Sorokin's making 8.5, Jeremy Swayman's worth 8.5. I'll make that argument every day. Ilya Sorokin, if I'm a management, is saying he wasn't even the starter in the playoffs. So how can we take a risk and commit this much to our goaltenders? There are very few that sort of qualify for that rarefied air of quote unquote elite. And Sorokin, Shesterkin, and Swayman, I believe will, like, again, he hasn't done it, but everything indicates he'll be in that category. But just to the Sorokin example, clearly it comes with some risk. And, I guess at the end of the day, this is the big question. And the Rangers are going to have to answer it with this Shesterkin. If you've got one of those guys, just how much do you value it?
Yeah, that's fair. So let's get to the rankings. Who do you got number 8?
This one's, I hate to say it, easy. And it's ironic because they have the most depth, but it's the Detroit Red Wings. And, I just think they're a team that hasn't learned how to defend necessarily, still asks a lot of their goaltenders. As I understand it, it can be a tough environment, in terms of the atmosphere there for goaltenders in Detroit. And I know they brought in Cam Talbot and he had a great year in LA last year. But when you look at the adjusted numbers, it's still below expected. And so if you're thinking he's going to go in there coming off a year where he had a 909 expected and into an environment where it's going to be closer to 890 and where he was below his expected in LA, like the numbers aren't going to look the same for him. And so Billy Husso had a tough year. He can't stay healthy. They tried to trade him all summer. They weren't able to. Sounds like his health is better. He could change this equation, and Talbot will give them steady. I just don't think the expectations are realistic based on what happened in LA last year. And then you've got Alex Lyon, who all he does is outperform the other guys around him, but right now looks like the number 3. So even with him and Jack Campbell in the 3-4 spot, a team that's willing to hold 3 in the NHL all season, it's really tough for me to rank them any higher in a division that has a lot of goaltending, a lot of good goaltending.
Okay. So number 7.
Moving up the list, and you can hear my notes shuffling. This one's going to be a shocker. I think this one's going to shock some people. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning 7.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. And maybe Andrei Vasilevsky, who joined the ranks this summer of goalies in the NHL who trained with Adam Francilia in Kelowna. So alongside with Stuart Skinner, Andrei Vasilevsky sought out Adam and is now training with him. And so hopefully that will help him stay healthy and be healthier this season. After a year last year off the back surgery, where I'm not sure he ever got his feet out, got his feet under him. And obviously a guy who 2 years ago we said was the best goalie in the world, no questions asked, can change the math on this in a hurry. But when you combine where he finished last year, which was just basically right at expected, with the aging curve, the loss around him in terms of the team getting weaker, and then the depth chart behind him, with Johansson and Matt Tompkins, who's a really good story and I think learned some lessons last year and could surprise some people if he gets an opportunity this year as he continues to grow as a sort of late bloomer into the NHL. But neither one of them were anywhere close to even expected or average when they got into games. And so it's a combination of depth chart and questions about Vasilevsky. And I'm probably going to regret having any tandem or 1 through 3 that starts with the big cat this low in a division. But when I look at the numbers, it's sort of hard to put them there anywhere else, at least at the start of the season.
It's an interesting one, just because of Vasilevsky. So let's move up to 6.
Montreal, and this is the tough one. Like, I should have asked you because I've sort of got them floating around. Do I do Boston with or without Jeremy Swayman?
Well, you know what? That's valid, right? We could do that. If Boston's without Swayman, where would you put him?
Boston without Swayman probably comes in ahead of or behind Montreal. They'd probably be 6.
Still ahead of Tampa?
Yeah, okay, maybe that's not fair. They'd probably be 7. I actually think that Korpisalo is going to have a bounce back. Like, that's the thing. Like, the goaltenders in Boston, as big as I am on Jeremy Swayman and believe he's in that elite category, I know they think Brandon Bussi was ready to play this year. Like, they took back the Korpisalo contract as part of moving Ullmark. But I believe that they thought Brandon Bussi, despite really not playing a ton, like, again, another guy like Swayman who just bang, right ready for the NHL. And then even you look at Michael DiPietro, who Canucks fans would be like, is he still playing? He had a 918 in the American Hockey League last year. Like, they just build goaltenders. Goalie Bob Basenza, the goalie coach, just builds goaltenders. And so maybe me counting on a Korpisalo bounce back and believing in Bussi is being optimistic based on their track record, but you're probably right. You probably drop Boston down to 7 without Swayman, and with him in the bounce back, I have them as high as 4. So Montreal, sort of you will put them in that category. There's a lot of upside here. I think most of it from the outside, when people look at this team, think of the year that Sam Montembeault had last year. Finished above expected on save percentage, had some really nice stretches in a year where he was playing more than he ever had before. But Caden Primo actually at plus 1% above expected save percentage. He's the guy that could really change the math here in combination with Montembeault. They got a young guy in Jacob Dobes behind them, so uncertainty in the 3 spot, not a lot of NHL experience. But those two quietly on a team that wasn't great last year had really good breakthrough seasons. And if they both can continue on that path, especially Primo with the upside there, they're a team that, like I said, I did have ranked ahead of Tampa. There's no Andrei Vasilevsky in the group, but 1 and 2, there's better numbers last season than anybody in Tampa had, and I believe they're continuing in an upward trajectory.
Kevin Woodley from Ingo Magazine and NHL.com joins us. So we move up to number 5, excuse me.
I guess. Well, I mean, if we put Boston in that area, we'll go to 4 here. We'll just do Boston without Swayman. And 4, so 4-3-2-1. I've got Florida at 4. And again, another one that would surprise some people. But Sergei Bobrovsky, as good as he was in the playoffs, was 33rd in the league in adjusted save percentage during the regular season. And they lost Anthony Stolarz, who was 6th. I believe in the guys they have behind him. Spencer Knight, obviously, after missing so much time going into the program. And I believe that Chris Driedger was a really good pickup for them out of Seattle as a free agent. I'm assuming the 3-hole with Knight as the backup, because I believe Chris Driedger is an NHL goaltender, especially now that he's over. It was a horrific injury at the World Championships a couple of years ago. ACL, MCL, PCL, blew it all out. But I saw signs when I watched his game last year and even a little bit in the American Hockey League that he can be that guy. The uncertainty, you lose a guy like Stolarz that gave you those minutes, the uncertainty around Knight, and the reality of Bob coming off such a long playoff run for the 2nd straight season, when as good as he was when it mattered, over the course of his season, it was a lot more up and down. I've got them 4th and below some other teams that might surprise some people in the Atlantic Division.
So if Boston had Swayman, you would have had him 5th. Is that right? Or would you have him higher?
I kind of got them and like, if I add the math up and they're kind of right there with Florida. You could toggle them 4 or 5.
Okay. So now we're down to the final 3. Who do you have 3rd?
I have the Ottawa Senators 3rd. You know how much I believe in Linus Ullmark. I've talked about that in the past. Again, as much as I make no arguments about Jeremy Swayman being worthy of the playoff start that he got last year in Boston, and he proved it by how well he played. Again, sort of another reason I think there's a lot of belief there. The reality is, over the course of a season, adjusted save percentage behind similar environments, Linus actually outperformed him. And so I think Linus is going to be really important for the Ottawa Senators this year. The other part of this equation, Anton Forsberg.
Yeah.
Didn't have the year that a lot of people would like last year, was thrust into a bigger role when Korpisalo struggled. But I believe if you keep him in that backup role, in that 1B role, in what he can do, and part of it is the way things worked out last year. Again, really easy to dump on the goaltending in Ottawa. Despite the environment around him, Anton Forsberg was right around expected. Like, he was not underwater last year. And I think as things tighten up, as the expectations in terms of how much you're asking him to do go back to where they were a couple of years ago, I really think Anton Forsberg is well suited for the role. Some questions in the depth chart. Mads Søgaard struggled when he was in the NHL last season, and he's sort of still that guy that will be the next man up, that dropped them a little bit. But between Ullmark and Forsberg, it's really easy statistically for me to have them in that 3 spot based on last season.
Okay. Ullmark's been pretty good. I know I was talking to Carter Hutton. He was with him in Buffalo, and he thinks, you know what, man, Ottawa might not be as sound defensively as Boston, but he's pretty good there as well. So that leaves us 2 teams. Who do you have 2?
Well, this one will also, like, again, I'm full of surprises today. What can I say? And I'm not trying to just do like a hot take Tuesday because we're on a different day than I normally am. But how about the Buffalo Sabres? And I didn't think I'd be saying this. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was a guy that I thought sometimes the buzz around him didn't match what I was seeing. That was a hell of a season he had last year, a real breakthrough, plus 1% on the adjusted save percentage. And then behind him, Devin Levi, I think a lot of people were like, oh, because he got sent back down, and is he ready? By the end of the year, he was barely behind UPL in terms of his adjusted numbers. What has to change in Buffalo is the environment. I talked, when we did the Central about Eric Comrie having an 858 expected save percentage. You don't have him anymore to throw in every game you plan on getting pummeled. So these guys are going to have to play some harder games. But if the environment can improve under Lindy Ruff, these guys both showed that they were capable. And then you add behind that the experience of James Reimer, who, Detroit casts off, but his adjusted numbers last season with the Red Wings were better than 2 of the 4 they've got there this year. So Reimer just consistently gets the job done, provides some veteran depth if they need it, or if they decide, there's a stint there where Levi needs to go down and play. But I think a lot of people sort of slept on Devin Levi, and the numbers backed up what I was seeing. He was really good last year after a bit of a tough start for him and the team. And I think knowing what I know of him and the growth he takes, and another guy who I saw in Kelowna this summer, also working with Adam Francilia, like I think he's just got this growth mindset that you'll see him continue to take steps. And when I look at the numbers, I think the step he took last year was a hell of a lot better than I think a lot of people assume from the outside.
So that leaves, you have the Toronto Maple Leafs as number 1 in the Atlantic. Now, you still live in Vancouver, correct?
I do. I'm going to take it for this.
I just want to clarify that.
I am counting very much on the Toronto Maple Leafs medical staff to make me look. Okay? So whoever's patching these guys up, I'm leaning on you here because this is the reality. When they're healthy, we talked already about how good Anthony Stolarz was for the Florida Panthers last year. And we had this conversation down the stretch last year about Joseph Woll. And, there was that time there where he was out and everybody was, can Samsonov get his game back and be the number 1? We saw it in the playoffs. When Joseph Woll is healthy, he is a guy that, honestly, the numbers say is the next to join that class, that Demko, Sorokin, that elite Swayman, like that's how good Joseph Woll's numbers have been. The problem is he hasn't been, what they say, one of the key abilities is durability. Yep. That hasn't happened for him. And again, another guy, I've read some of the reports and know some of the things he's done outside of what's been reported officially in terms of his off season. And I believe he's figured some things out. Let's see if they can keep him healthy. The other question there is like Stolarz made it through last year healthy, but I know there are a lot of questions around the league about what happens if you play him more. And so it's going to be really important, especially if Woll doesn't get through the year healthy, how much they lean on Stolarz. And this is where I'm really going out on a limb. Behind those two, the depth chart, I think the experience of Matt Murray, healthy Matt Murray as an option for 3, and then the upside of Hildeby if they need him instead. Because again, because of the sort of medical background of the first 2, chances are you're going to need at least one of those for a stretch this year. But I know this will make me in the minority, but I still believe in Matt Murray. Maybe not at the 6.25 they used to pay him or the 2-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender, but I believe he's an NHL goaltender. If he's got his hips healthy and he's able to sort of move how he used to, his mind is so sharp the way he reads the game that I think he actually is a bonus on their depth chart behind those 2. And talent-wise, there's no arguing with the 2. They have one in first and second in Woll and Stolarz. The only question is, do they get through the year healthy? And I'm gonna take a risk and bank on it and keep them number 1 with that in mind.
Fascinating stuff, Kev. We love it. So we'll do the Pacific. I was a week ahead. I was so excited that I thought preseason's over, but it's not till next week that we're doing the Pacific Division. So that's perfect because the Oilers, of course, are in the Pacific Division. So that's why we want to save it for last. So we'll do it next Monday. Have yourself a great week.
Sounds good, Jason. Enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week.
You betcha. That's Kevin Woodley from Ingle Magazine, NHL.com. Ooh, man, people are going to be freaking out about those rankings. Now, Kevin goes into a lot of numbers, right? Expected save percentage is a big one that he looks at. Goals above expected, all that stuff. So it's not just save percentage or anything like that. So, and he looked at all. It's not just the starter, right? So we want to make that clear. It's not just the starter. It's a little bit deeper with second and even the third string goalies because a lot of times you might have to use them. When we come back, trades. There's a few trades we'll talk about next on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Ready to tackle your toughest tasks? Edmonton Kubota has you covered with the all-new M8 Series tractor with powerful 181 and 201 horsepower engines, Cummins power, and loader readiness. It's built to handle any challenge. And now, for a limited time, get a free 4-year extended warranty when you drive off with an M8 Series tractor. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Visit Edmonton Kubota today and power up your productivity. Edmonton Kubota, where power meets performance.
Nuges Nuggets. This is Nuges Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman.
Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge. Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of Nuges Nuggets.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada with sports and entertainment properties including the Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, the Hockey Super League, and the newly launched Female Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. The Silent Ice Center, a new state-of-the-art entertainment facility, is open in Nisku, which features 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and a restaurant with a viewing area.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Welcome back. Tuesday afternoon. Jason Gregor, Declan Cougar with you on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. For everybody watching, we always appreciate it. It's a busy time, man. Sports fans, you're fired up. You had a long weekend for Truth and Reconciliation Day yesterday, and you had a preseason game. If you watched it, it was on television. Wasn't necessarily the best game to watch. Let's call a spade here. The Canucks had much more of a AHL-looking roster than NHL. The pace of the game wasn't close. The crispness of the game looked scrambly, to say the least. And you try to work on things. It's hard in some of those games to get a great assessment on certain players. And I look at the Oilers organization. Like, we all knew there was only so many jobs. Like, there was really only one kind of spot that was opened up for this team, and I thought it was a forward spot. Now, I guess Dermott could surprise us and earn himself a spot on the roster. I don't think so. I think they'll go with the 4 right D and the 3 left, and we'll see if Dermott can get himself a 2-way deal or a 1-way deal in the organization. We'll see. I thought Ben Gleason actually had a pretty solid camp again. There's just not room for him on the left side. And up front, Trey Kajula's, he had a really good camp. There's some guys I think that they would like to have done more, right? Lane Peterson, James Hamlin, probably both 2 guys would have said, hey, you know what? I probably wish I would have done more than they did. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of other forwards. Raphael Lavoie played well. Noah Phillips played very well. Drake Kajula's had a solid camp. Now, I think ultimately Drake Kajula is going to be going down, but he's earned it, the chance. And I think, Drake Kajula, could he get recalled and help you if you're in a pinch on your 4th line? I think he could. He's physical. Kills penalties, goes up and down the wall. It would be fine. But Noah Phillips, the guy who stood out to me the most, for sure. Now, we'll get to the football report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit or your furnace, or even bundle them together. Stay cool or warm, whatever you like. LegacyHeating.ca. And this coming down, and not a surprise because you'd heard rumblings about this maybe earlier, but Devontae Adams is looking for a trade out of the Raiders. Now, KC needs a receiver. Now, I understand it's within your division. I get it. And some would say, well, if you trade him to the Chiefs, all it does is widen the gap between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Fair point. But if the Chiefs offer you the best, maybe you take it. You only play him twice. Now, the other option for the Chiefs, because they just continue to be terrible as karma, if you're a believer in karma, it continues to strike the Cleveland Browns. They can't win. And you know what? Maybe they'll never win after the decision they made to employ and sign the worst contract in NFL history. Make no mistake, that is the worst contract in NFL history. And so Amari Cooper, who doesn't have a real big cap hit, might be an easier trade for the Kansas City Chiefs to make, because Rashee Rice, if you missed it, he's out. They've already lost Hollywood Brown. He's out. Pacheco's out till week 8. Now I know they're getting Clyde Allaire back, but what is he going to stay healthy for a week? That guy can never stay healthy, and he's not a receiver, so I'm not sure he really answers the woes of the Chiefs. Despite all that, they are one of only 2 teams who have yet to lose a game, them and the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold, we called it at the start of the year on this show. Sam Darnold was the guy. We said, don't sleep on Sam Darnold. I'll be honest. I like the storylines when some people just write off a guy really quickly after in his career. He's terrible. He's brutal. Well, he's looked really good for the Vikings. And they're getting better. Addison just came back. Right, had 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. They got Jefferson. They look good. Them and the Detroit Lions, even the Packers. Heck, the Bears are 2-2. Now the Bears are 2-2. Their play calling, oh my God! Go look at the routes that DJ Moore is running. It's terrible. The Seattle receivers basically called this after what they were asked to do and how it didn't work. And then even look at Seattle's offense without him. It's night and day difference, man. That guy, I know you follow it very closely, but I know people are like, hey, these are the coaches at the highest levels. But that doesn't mean that they're all good coaches. Right? Not all doctors are good doctors. Not all teachers are good teachers. Not all media people are good media people. Not all mechanics are good, etc. Not every football coach is good. And I can tell you right now, I can understand why people are wondering what is going on with the play calling at times, because you can say, oh, it's a young quarterback, but you can't even use that argument, because if you look at Waldron in Seattle and then without, and he had a veteran quarterback in Seattle, this is stunning difference.
Yeah, I think one thing that's a big problem with a lot of coaches, and I think you're seeing it here, is that I think good coaches generally build their offenses and build their schemes around their players' strengths. And I think some coaches are a little too stubborn, and they try and get their players to adapt to their schemes and adapt to their systems. And I think in this case, this is a prime case of a young quarterback who you should be adapting around, and you should be building schemes around him, and you should be running pick plays around him and sets around him, not the other way around. I think that's what we're seeing, and I think that's why it's been a bit of a hard transition, if you will, to this point in the season.
Yeah, very much. Now, I know we're supposed to talk NFL here, but I do have to talk NBA. Carl Anthony Towns trade. Yeah, that's now some would say it's salary cap related a bit, considering how much they would have had tied up in it. But if you look at how much the Boston Celtics are spending right now, and if the goal is to win a championship, I don't know if this gets Minnesota closer per se. Now they got 2 players, decent players, but they're not Carl Anthony Towns. I don't think there's any debate about that. What do you make of this deal?
No, I think they got further away, if anything. Carl Anthony Towns, what happened with Rudy Gobert and Carl Anthony Towns and why it worked so well in Minnesota is that they were both 5s, but they were both 5s with a completely different skill set and a completely different style of play. Rudy Gobert was a defensive rebounder who could load up in the paint and just be a rim protector, get his hands up, score 12 points a night around the basket if needed. Carl Anthony Towns was a guy who could take it out, put it on the high post. He could put it on the elbow. He could stretch it from 3. We saw him do that very well in his career, and that's why they worked so well together, and that's why it was such a match made in heaven when some people thought it wouldn't be. Julius Randle, he is a true 4. I give him that, and he is mobile in a lot of ways, but he's not a Karl Anthony Towns in the way he can be a stretch 4. He's a guy who needs to put his shoulder down. He needs to be in the lane scoring. Now, he can hit a jumper every now and then if he's given space. Dante DiVincenzo is a fine 3-point shooter, sure, but more often than not, I think this Minnesota team is going to be finding themselves just giving it to Anthony Edwards and praying he can get a shot up at the end of the shot clock, which, listen, there are a lot worse guys in the NBA to have on your team that you want to have thrown up a shot with 2 seconds left on the clock than Anthony Edwards, but Karl Anthony Towns gave Minnesota that option to have another true, legitimate scoring threat that could play on all areas of the court. I don't know if they have that now. They have spot-up shooters, like I mentioned with Dante, and they have guys who play their role very well with Naz Reid, but I think Julius Randle is going to butt heads with Rudy Gobert. I think Minnesota had it about as good as they've had it in quite some time, and I don't like the move for the team.
Yeah, it was surprising to me, to say the least. And you know what? He goes to New York, and man, he is going to be a fan favorite. Now, there's a lot more spotlight in the Knicks, so he's either going to flourish under it or it'll be a struggle. I'm kind of curious, but man, on paper, I actually quite like that Knicks team now. On paper, they look really good.
On paper, they kind of have everything you need,
Yes.
right? Like, they have a star point guard. They have a true big man who can rebound the ball, play defense. They have a 4 who can score, and they have a hell of a bench. Like, on paper, they should be right.
They got
there.
like Anunoby's a really good defensive player.
I think since OG Anunoby came in the league, he's been the most underrated defender in the NBA.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's really good defensively. So I know he's pretty athletic, and he can still score every now and then. Like, he can go off a few games and kind of surprise people and drop 25, and you're like, what the hell happened there? So I don't mind that next team at all. I think they're going to be exciting to watch for sure. And I just wondered how much of this was like Edwards and Towns not getting along. Like, I don't know why, but that was the first thing that came to mind to me, because Edwards is a pretty big personality. I don't think there's any question about that. And, maybe that was a factor. So.
I do think there's some truth to that, because I think, and I'll make this quick here before the break, Anthony Edwards was obviously Karl Anthony Towns' first overall pick in 2015, kind of handed the keys to the franchise, as first overall picks often are in the NBA.
Yeah.
They find no success until Jimmy Butler comes in. They make the playoffs. Jimmy Butler leaves. Minnesota falls back, doesn't have any success. Anthony Edwards comes in, immediately becomes the guy, like you said, very big personality, and they find success again. So Karl Anthony Towns has kind of been through a roller coaster period where there's been some expectations that it's his team, but when it's been his team, not a lot of success. When someone else comes in and is a ball dominant guard, it becomes their team and the team finds success. I do think that ate away at Karl Anthony Towns a little bit. And if you're Anthony Edwards, you're sitting there saying, listen, I'm that guy. This is my team, and you're going to act like it. And I think Karl Anthony Towns probably didn't like that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He'll have, because Brunson's a man in New York. There's no debate about that. 3:00, we'll come back. Terry Ryan will join us. We got Dave McCarthy. Struddy's coming up with Struddy. We're going to talk about, there's something very specific I want to ask him about defensemen that I've seen in the preseason from the Oilers, specifically one. We'll get into that. It's about Brown, and it might not be what you think, but we'll get into that. But first, here's Declan Cougar and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by the 6th annual Kids Sport Pizza Pig Out. Want to get kids playing sports? Love pizza? It's perfect. It's coming up on October 24th, just over 3 weeks this coming Thursday. Get your tickets at Jason Gregor Pizza Pig Out.com. I'm telling you, it is worth it. The pizza is unreal. And we're looking for about 2 more pizzerias. So if there's any pizzerias out there that want to help out, you want to showcase all your great pizza, get all sorts of publicity, everybody gets to try it, send me a note, Gregor at sports1440.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, roster moves for the Oil as the Oilers have placed Ben Gleason, Phil Kemp, Lane Pedersen, and Colin Delia on waivers for the purpose of assignment. They've loaned James Hamlin to the Bakersfield Condors and Bo Akey to the Barrie Colts. 6-time Pro Bowler and 3-time All-Pro Devontae Adams has informed the Raiders that he prefers to be traded, likely having played his last snap in the silver and black, per Ian Rappaport. The NFL is suspending Buffalo Bills linebacker Von Miller for 4 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. And in NHL news, the Columbus Blue Jackets have been granted an exemption to fall below the NHL salary cap floor by October 7th. Montreal Canadiens defenseman David Reinbacher is expected to miss 5 to 6 months after undergoing knee surgery earlier today, and the Pac-12 is adding Gonzaga as a member in all sports the school plays starting in July 2026, the conference announced today. MLB scores around the league. 2 wildcard games. The Tigers currently up on the Astros 3-0 in the top of the 6th. Royals and Orioles tied at 0 in the top of the 1st. Later today will be the Mets and Brewers at 3:30 and Braves and Padres at 6:30. And in the WNBA, 2 semifinals games today. Aces and Liberty at 5:30. New York leading that series 1-0. And the Sun and Minnesota Lynx at 7:30. The Sun leading that series 1-0. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Marathon, the Original, and the Orangesicle. Made with oranges, orange sorbet, and vanilla frozen yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Mr. Rooter goes for a fall stroll.
Ah, the beauty of fall. These leaves are crunchier than that calcified shower head I replaced this morning. And the earthy yellow oranges and browns are as colorful as the wad of hair I pulled out of the shower drain.
Ugh, Mr. Rooter, can we talk about something else?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you didn't like fall. You look about as sour as the sewer line I unclogged yesterday.
For a plumber you'll truly fall for, call Mr. Rooter.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Pig Out presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for kids sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor broadcasting live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
Gateway Toyota treats us like we're precious gems.
Because that's what we are.
Every vehicle purchased from Gateway Toyota includes enrollment into their GEM program.
It stands for Gateway Exclusive Membership.
And it gives you 5-year access to over $2,500 in benefits.
Free oil changes.
Free tire and windshield repair.
Free car washes.
Even an annual detailing.
You'll also get special discounts, trade-in bonuses, and referral rewards.
I feel like a gem.
At Gateway Toyota, just off Calgary Trail at Ellerslie Road.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
What's your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K?
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, BDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till
Jump the barbed wire, spread the word, light the bonfire, and call the girls. King in the can and the Marlboro man.
Fitting music as the rodeo is taking over Rogers this week. They have all the a lot of the animals were outside. They took a quick little tour. That reminds me of the farm, so it's always nice. So it's fun. Lots of vests, lots of plaid shirts, lots of cowboy boots downtown this week. So enjoy it. Should be a lot of fun. I like it. This is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. $40 million. Lotto Max, get your tickets tonight. Good luck. Remember our deal. You win, you host a party, we're invited. We win, we'll host a few. It's totally valid. Our next guest, oh man, he wishes he was here this week. He'd pull out his snake skin cowboy boots. You know, he'd dip his jeans in some water just so he could fit them, slide them in like Kramer, and just be strolling around downtown with his cowboy hat and his snakeskin cowboy boots for the rodeo. Former first-round pick in the NHL. Former NHLer. Two-time author. Star in Shoresy, plays Hitch. Terry Ryan joins us. TR, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Good to hear from you. Good to be with you guys out west today. I'm coming out soon. And speaking of snakeskin boots, mine are done, so I can't wait. I'm going to come out. Any recommendations, whatever? I need a pair of snakeskins. I don't trust anywhere but Alberta, maybe parts of BC, but I saved my boot buying for out there, and I'm coming soon.
Okay. All right. There you go. Have you ever been? Yeah.
Sorry. I should say the reason. Why not? I promote it a little bit. I'm dropping the puck at a Black Falls Junior A game on November 23rd. So I know those specifics so far. As for where I'm speaking, what we're going to do, other than that, I'm not sure. Stay tuned to my Instagram to find out.
All right. Well, you're also going to Tri-City, I think. Back you and Morasti, John Morasti will be there. Now you must have been to a live rodeo in your life a few times, TR.
Yeah. Oh, lots. Because like I said, Penny Lane's mother, my ex, Danielle, her father was a bull rider. He had the Danes rodeo in Penhold, between Penhold and Innisfail there. Yeah, so I've been there many, many times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. We're into the final week of the preseason, thank goodness. You look at kind of, I guess we'll start the LA Kings. That's the brutal news. They lose Drew Doughty. Then the Montreal Canadiens, Patrick Laine, although the Canadiens just put out an announcement here moments ago that I guess good news for Laine is he doesn't require knee surgery, but he'll just rehab his knee, and it's 2 to 3 months. So that's like best case scenario for them. And it's only 2 to 3 months for him, but it's unlucky. It's bad news. Average guy went after. I had no problem with it at all. My problem is when people say, well, Pare, he's not a dirty player. I don't care. Stop. It's a dirty play, full stop. It doesn't mean you're a dirty player. It's a dirty play. Right? Don't tell me, wow, it's knee on knee. Right? It's knee on knee. And it's a dirty play. I don't care. I'm so tired of people, well, he's not a dirty player. It doesn't matter. It's like, now I know this is being hyperbole, of course, but it's like when you read the news stories about somebody who's a murderer. Well, he was a pretty nice guy. Oh, really? No, he's a murderer. So you might have done other things nice in your life, and Pare might not be a cheap player, but that's a cheap play.
And I would think, even though we're in a new age of hockey, so to speak, you got to know, you don't get to pro, you don't get to be playing a sport, being paid as an adult without knowing that there was going to be some kind of retribution. And the other side of it, there's so many levels to it. If you're Wi-Fi, it's your job. So not only is he a good teammate that answers the bell and came up as a young guy, really taking on all comers, but now he's there and, that's his job. If someone does that and he doesn't respond, then he'll probably have to answer to his teammates and, I don't know to what degree, but definitely to some degree. And so I don't think, if that was you weren't dirty, but you made a dirty play. Would you really be surprised that the player known for character and team sacrifice is going to give you a tap? You just know that. So and if you're not a dirty player, so be it. But that playing the sport, you just know it. That's it. Let's not have that. Oh, it was too rough. this is the sport that you choose to play. There's hitting, there's sticks involved. If there was no fighting, you would have got a slash, not an elbow in the head, just something. You come back. You can't just, in the circumstances too, at home in Montreal, Line A I was kind of happy for the guy. It seemed like a nice buzz around him. Yeah. The other night he had the puck a few times and the place erupted. And, I was like, geez, maybe this will be, because I was a doubter. I'm like, no, 2 exhibition games in, but I'm saying it was a nice feeling. And I'm like, he seems to be rolling with this. So anybody that especially has just gone through what he did mentally, physically, so many injuries, so much mental adversity that he's been public about, it was unfortunate. And if Paris, is that his name? If he didn't see that coming, then, I mean, I really feel bad for the future of hockey.
Looking to this final week, like the orders are down. They've basically got kind of one spot left. Now, unless someone thinks Dermott's going to make the team, I'd be surprised. So it comes down to probably Philp and Lavoie for that 13th forward spot for the Edmonton Oilers. And Noah Philp, man, now there's a few things at play here. He's a center. So he comes in, and that means you can kind of platoon Derek Ryan and Corey Perry, where if it's Lavoie, that means Derek Ryan's got to play all the time, right? Because Lavoie is only a right winger. So, there is a fact where you can rotate center and right winger and different things like that. There's the fact that, and Noah Philp, like, man, he skates really well. Terry, he's 6'3", he's 205 pounds. He's physical. If he wants to, he'll fight guys, as much as you have to in today's NHL game, but he can really shoot the puck. And I was watching very closely today in practice, because it was amazing how today's practice was like the first, what I'll say, NHL practice of the year. And you've been in NHL camps, TR. You'll see practice the first week of camp. There's 50 guys there, 56 or whatever. Just the pace and, the accuracy, everything involved in the practice today was like, okay, that looks like. And Noah Philp did not look out of place. He actually looked really comfortable in there. And like, I'm the Edmonton Oilers, and the way he's played, like Noah Philp, so far for me, he almost has to play his way off the team in the final 2 preseason games.
It's funny you say that. I watched, I think it was the Winnipeg game, which was nothing to write home about, but I didn't really ever watch him before. I just saw his name in the minors when I'm browsing, guys down there that might come up. So I didn't really know much about him, but a versatile 6'3", 205 skater that takes lots of face-offs. And when he takes face-offs, he's not mailing it in. He uses his body a lot on them. He's good at them. So I don't come on here to agree with you every time, but yeah, of the people that have surprised me in camp, he's definitely been number one, because I didn't really know who he was. That being said, the little I've seen of Lavoie, he's playing well as well. He's playing well as well. So I haven't seen enough to be able to nitpick. I don't really know, but they've got a decision to make. The more I see of this Philp guy, there's something to be said for versatile and big and fast, right? Those are 3 huge things in today's game.
And the fact that he kills penalties, right? Like Raphael Lavoie is not on the penalty kill, and you're in the bottom 6. Like that's why I said, TR, if I was Raphael Lavoie and if I do get sent down and I clear waivers, when I show up in Bakersfield, I'm walking into the coach's office and just saying, Coach, I need to be on the penalty kill this year.
100%.
Because
100%.
If you don't, you might never get to the NHL. Because sometimes you just need, the more you have in your toolbox can get you in the door. And maybe he starts on the penalty kill, whatever, and then there's an injury, and it's like, well, geez, that Raphael Lavoie guy can shoot. Let's put him on the power play or the second unit power play, and he scores a little bit more, and suddenly he finds himself as a third-line guy. But if you can't get your foot in the door, it's really hard.
I totally agree with you. I remember thinking about that to myself as a player, even like early on. Like I really remember being a prospect and going like, that was part of, I'm not saying the motivation to fight. Most of it was, sticking up for a teammate. But I remember going like this, I want this to be part of my toolbox because I have more places to play on the team. And then when I learned about penalty killing, and I really had to learn in pro. Bob Laux put us out there all the time in junior. Had like 7 shorties one year, but I wasn't really playing defense the way that I needed to play defense in pro. Even the American League was totally different. But I'll tell you a good example of that was Danny Cleary. And he had a cup of coffee in Edmonton, but Danny was all offense and kind of 75% bad attitude when he first came up. And, then I remember one summer come back and he was going hard. And it might've been the year he went to Edmonton and just said, I got to change something here. And he just started to change it. When he got to Detroit, it really manifested itself, leaders and coaches and brought that out of him. But, I remember him saying those words out loud, like, I better learn some different things or else there's no spots for us. Right. Because we came up together kind of thing from here. And I remember watching it with my own eyes. He made that decision and he became a real good go-to defensive forward. I never thought I would see the day. But those things, I think I don't want to undervalue or take for granted the good penalty killers out there. But I just find it a lot easier to learn to do that than it is. You can't just make yourself go and be a power play guy. But, if you're a good skater already and the game, come on. You can commit and be a much better defensive player and I think get onto the penalty kill.
Jerry Ryan joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Lots of texts coming in. TR, you played. Did you notice is there the risk when you have a lot of guys who maybe even aren't even close to being NHL players in the exhibition season? Do you think guys take cheap shots, or was it just an unfortunate incident? I'm assuming he's referring to the part.
I always find it's just a tough call in exhibition because those, the best players there, you don't want them to get injured. Even as a player in camp, you don't want that to happen, but you got to go hard, right? You've got to go as hard as you can. I found it so some guys are mentally mailing it in and other guys are mentally Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, right? So I just found that the whole dichotomy of the different mindsets in the game is weird, first of all. But that's why I always would rather err on the side of hard work. So, okay, whatever. If I got to hit Doug Gilmour hard, whatever, I did it. I hope he doesn't get hurt. But I did find that a hard water to wade in at the time. I really, there's a lot to unpack with what you just said, because I think the exhibition is too long as it is. I think the season's too long, but that'll never be shortened. But, every exhibition game now, guys, I'm crossing my fingers. I'd rather just watch in game 1. I'm just crossing my fingers. What happened to Line A is an absolute disaster. It's a nightmare that nobody wants to see. And you got to play them, I guess, but the exhibition games. But it's just tough to take. And hockey's such a physical sport. There's going to be injuries anyway. Similar to football, and guys go down for the year in exhibition, and it's tragic for the team.
Yeah, it totally is. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. We'll return. Dave McCarthy will join us and more on a busy Tuesday edition of the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get your tickets. Lotto Max, $40 million tonight.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions, assemble.
Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting.
Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
I'm Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And I'm Zach Hyman. And when we're not making juicy, sweet passes or having my goals disallowed, we're working for Legacy Heating and Cooling. You know, guys used to call me a plumber. And now they call you an HVAC technician. Nice.
Hey, guys, you're not here to install furnaces. You're here to sing the jingle.
Oh.
Well.
Okay. Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
No payments and no interest for 1 year from qualified installers. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
You'll hear it around town. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. But at Wolf GMC Buick, we're putting our own spin on it. Not only do we have over 200 GMCs available, we also want you to upgrade your ride with 0% financing up to 72 months on the 2024 GMC Sierra Elevation. Oh, and how about at least $10,000 cash back in your pocket on in-stock heavy-duty trucks? Yep, it's Canada-wide clearance, and you'll only get these deals at Wolf GMC Buick, corner of 184th Street and Stony Plain Road, just seconds from the Anthony Henday.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. By then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me. Genius technicians who check every component. Dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to Noble, and we'll take care of you.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
Baby. Ooh, the game is never over. Detroit goes into the ninth, leading 3-0. Houston has scored a run, 3-1. Now they have runners on first and second. So the tying run is at first base, and it is getting rather loud right now in Houston. Ooh, buddy, like it's just there's certain parts of a game like baseball that just there's so much more. And there's no outs, by the way, either. Like, could you imagine this would be one hell of a gag job if they can't get it down. So we'll see. So sack bunt. Now you have runners second. So tying run is at second base with one out. Woo-hoo. Nice. Love it. Gotta love baseball playoffs, baby. Let's go in the room now. Brought to you by Action Electrical. And you know what you love is they can help you out on savings. If you're looking for solar, whether it's for your home or for your business, they can help you. Any size project, any size house, they'll help you out. ActionElectrical.net. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you as we welcome in from Sirius XM, Dave McCarthy, our regular Tuesday guest. Davey, how you doing?
I'm good, boys. What's up?
Hey, you know what? We're good. Busy time. We're in the final week of the preseason. Well, technically not even because the NHL regular season, I guess, officially begins on Friday night. Oh, well, Friday morning, I guess, our time is New Jersey and Buffalo will get going. The North American version of the regular season is a week today. So you're a week away now, Dave, and Boston's already announced that Korpisalo is going to be their game one starter. How do you see this playing out? Neely comes out and says 64 million reasons why I would sign it, saying they've offered 8x8. The agent comes back and says that number was never offered to us. Although some people are saying they want more than that anyway. Who do you believe here?
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't see why the agent has any reason to lie. Like if Louis Gross comes out and puts out a statement that says what it said, which was that we've never been presented anything like $64 million. It comes out that they, in fact, have been. His reputation is on the line. And in the agent business, your reputation is everything. So now that would surprise me. Question then becomes, okay, were they offered 62? Were they offered 63? And he rounded up to 64, Cam Neely, for dramatic effect. And suddenly we're putting out a message like the closest we've been offered is something in the 40s. That would be interesting. I don't know. What I would say is that this is a masterclass of mismanagement, though, on the part of the Boston Bruins brass. How's that for alliteration? Okay. You know, all those times where guys like us here, we ask GMs and presidents of teams, what's going on with this guy's contract or what's going on. And the response is, look, I'm not getting into negotiations. We're going to have those discussions behind closed doors. When we have something to report, we'll report it. That's why they say this. Because if I was Jeremy Swayman, I'll tell you what, guys, the way that Cam Neely comported himself in that press conference, like I thought Don Sweeney was the guy who was trying to make peace with his boss and Jeremy Swayman at the same time. Now, he was in a real tight spot. But when Don was asked, was he surprised what Jeremy Swayman's initial ask was? And he went on to say, well, no, not really. And then Cam Neely interjected with a haughty, I was. Man, that would make me think long and hard as to whether or not I'd want to play for that guy moving forward if I were Jeremy Swayman.
Okay, I know that it is. You sometimes, like, once it gets a little public, some people, your ego comes into play. Do I feel respected? And I can understand that. And everybody's going to be different on what's the line where they feel like maybe, it's too much disrespect or not. And the longer this goes, like, Korpisalo, we'll see how good he is. But, the longer this goes, this is, this to me, at bare minimum, it will impact Boston's ability to have home ice.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it puts them in a battle for the wild card and maybe out of the playoffs if it goes on 2 months.
Yeah, it's not ideal at all because Jeremy Swayman is a far better goalie than Joonas Korpisalo. And I think Boston's a team that's going to have to rely on really good goaltending this year in order to contend. I just think the broader picture here is that the Bruins management, like the CEO was there, at a head table. Like it was just an odd look, right?
Yeah.
Like way too formal to essentially go out and try to drag your number one goalie. And let's be honest here, what they're trying to do is turn public sentiment in their favor and against the player. That's really what would aggravate me if I were Jeremy Swayman. You look at how the negotiations played out in a similar situation with William Nylander a number of years ago, Toronto, when Kyle Dubas was here. Say what you will about the contract. I still don't think they signed a very good contract because the longer he waited, the number went up. That's besides the point. But to Dubas's credit, there was none of this in advance. The discussions were kept quiet, and then there was a deal. You can debate the deal, but it wasn't this drag the guy in the media, and that just does not sit well with me at all.
What do you guys think he's worth? I think he has 132 games. He's been well insulated there. He's a great goalie. I'm not saying he's not, but what? I really don't know. Someone asked me, I don't know what he's asking for. The way Cam Neely was so confident and came out and said that, it was fairly unprofessional. Surprised me. But I mean, what do you think he's going to get? What's he worth?
Gregor, what do you think? I mean, I've got an idea, but it's your show.
Well, honestly, I think it's a great question because the volatility of the goalie position is unlike any other position in hockey. We rarely see like Quinn Hughes is not going to suddenly be a 55-point defenseman or a 60-point defenseman, right? Unless he's banged up. Right, but we see goalies that will go and all of a sudden they're a 920 and then they're a 900 and you're like, what happened for a year? And then they come like, look at Markstrom. Markstrom's probably the prime example of it. So I could see why there's hesitation. To me, I don't have a problem if you want to pay him $8 million. I'm not doing it for 8 years. I think term for goalies is the hardest one. That's what I want to try to avoid if I can, unless I'm getting them on a bargain deal. So I would even go $9 million, but only on 5 years. That's probably I could see why he's going to ask for 8 or 9. The goalie market really hasn't changed, and I'm sure there's some pressure within to say, man, we got to get some guys here going up because the goalie market just keeps going down.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of that at play here. Swayman's put up some really good numbers, but never been a full starter where he's starting even 55 games a year. And so I can understand the trepidation from Boston to say, well, can this guy handle? Because the workload is different. Right?
Yes.
Fatigue becomes a factor. Mental fatigue becomes a factor. And we haven't really seen what he can do. So I can't understand, I could see the argument why Swayman says, well, look at my numbers. Okay, great. I get that. But then I look at the other side says, yeah, well, look at your games played. So I would say $9 million is at the most, but then it's going to be the higher is cap hit, the lower is term for me.
Yeah. So I get it from Boston's standpoint. He's only played 132 games in the league. That's, if you want to call it, that's like 2.5 seasons for a goalie, maybe 2.25 seasons for a goalie. If you average, say, like 55 games, that's 110 plus another 20. You know what I mean? So it's like a 2.25 seasons. But over those 2.25 seasons, numbers have been very good. He's 25 years of age, but he's always had that insulation of a quality tandem guy with him. And there are few guys in the league nowadays that are undisputed number ones, like a Vasilevsky, like a Connor Hellebuyck, like a Jake Ottinger, guys that the team goes into the year expecting them to play 60-plus games. So if Swayman thinks he's one of those guys, and what we've seen so far suggests that he can be that, Shesterkin is another one of those guys. And I mentioned that because this factors into my point. If he feels he can be that guy, I understand why he wants to get paid significantly. So if he's signing 8 years, he doesn't want to look at what Shesterkin is going to get when he re-signs with the New York Rangers, which is going to be 11. Like he wants to get more than what Carey Price is on the books for, which is 10-5.
Yeah.
Do you not think he should get that much, Jason? I may not disagree, but I think he's going to get it. Do you not? So just to finish my quick point here is that I think that's what he's going to get, whether we agree with it or not. Swayman's going to look at that and say, well, I'm not, $4 million less a goalie. I can't leave myself that short for that long.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if he tries to look at that one, he might. But Shesterkin's got a much longer track record, right? Like that's because it's kind of like, well, look at what Cale Makar signed for. And you know what? Drew Doughty was already at 10 and a bit, right? And he only signed for 9. So I think they could make the argument, hey, we don't care what Shesterkin is. You're going to sign for what you've done to this point. But it'll be a fascinating negotiation, right? And then it comes down to it as the season begins. Then it comes down to your willingness to want to miss games and all that sort of thing. Because you are missing a paycheck. Now, eventually you're going to get paid, so you won't technically make the money back. But if you get the money you want, then you'll be fine. So it's a good question, TR. What do you think he's worth?
Yeah, I've pondered it. I don't like term either for a goalie. I'm with you in that. I'm not really sure, but I'm with you in that I'd rather give him 9 for 4 or 5. I know that much. I know that. Even Shesterkin, like 11, 12, I don't know. I find the goalie position, what's the word you used, volatile?
Yes.
Yeah, I really do. Even as we sit here, the goalie you just mentioned, Carey Price, is hurt. So it's hard to, like they're either hurt or they have ups and downs. Everybody's got New Jersey way up there, like number 3, 4, 5 in the league. I'm going, what? There's not much changed. But Markstrom, and he could have a down year. I mean, I don't know. The answer, I don't know. That's why I asked. I would I would be comfortable giving him $8 to $9 million for 4 or 5 years. Anything other than that would make me uncomfortable.
Awesome. Davey, a few other ones. You look at that Atlantic division, and Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, they've all kind of been waiting. Some people think Detroit's taking a step back, and I think that's probably fair.
I agree.
Between Ottawa, now they got Allmark. You know what? They're hoping Jensen. Their top 4D looks pretty good. Norris is starting the season healthy. If he stays healthy, that's big. You know, Buffalo has went out. They made some moves. Kevin Woodley's really high in their goaltending tandem. Which of those teams, Ottawa, Buffalo, do you give a better chance to finish in the top 4 in the Atlantic?
I'm going to go with Buffalo. I'm still not convinced with Ottawa. I still see a lot of bluster there, a lot of big talk, but the biggest thing for the Senators is going to be playing with a level of I guess maturity in their game would be the word that I use. Understanding that, you know, scoring goals is nice and running up and down the ice is nice and yelling at guys from the bench is nice, but what do you do when you've got the puck 3 feet from the blue line? Do you get it out consistently or do you turn it over? You know, and that's what's really going to be the issue in Ottawa, because that's what's plagued them over the last number of years, just where they beat themselves, especially in their own end. And I know a lot of people are really high on Linus Ullmark. He's a good goalie, but do we forget about what he looked like when he was with the Buffalo Sabres a number of years ago, where they didn't have a clue what they were doing when they didn't have the puck? And suddenly he's just like gotten way better at the age of, what is he, like 30? I don't know. I don't buy that. So, you know, they've tried a number of different goalies, bringing them in Ottawa over the last number of years. Like, oh, this guy's the answer. Cam Talbot's the answer. Korpisalo, Matt Murray, whoever it is. But nothing changes in front of the goalie. So they need to improve in that area. I'm not convinced. I like Buffalo. I think their back end is really sound with the personnel that they've got back there. And I think they've gotten a little bit older, like Owen Powers going into his 3rd year now. Rasmus Dahlin, I believe, into his 6th. Matthias Samuelson's not a young guy. Bowen Byram's not a young guy in the league. Like, these are all guys that have played at minimum, 200 games plus. So they're at the level now where I think they understand as well in Buffalo that this is a year where they need to take a step. And I think last year they may have suffered from a little bit of overconfidence coming so close a year prior to last. There was a little bit of maybe overconfidence last year coming into the year, and I think it hurt them. I don't think they're going to suffer from that this year. So I would put Buffalo ahead of Ottawa at this point in the Atlantic Division for a top 4 spot. And I do agree. I think Detroit has taken a step back. When I did my preseason predictions a month ago, I actually had Detroit in last place in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah. And here's the number. Frank Saravalli just reporting that Boston's actual offer was $7.8 million. So, Dave, your math was right. Just under. So it's 62.4, but 7.8 rounded up a bit. And the Swayman's camp was asking for 8.5. So Boston had started at 6.5 allegedly. Now they've moved up to 7.8 from 8.5. Like, my goodness, they're not that far apart here. Like,
no, okay, but again, still, see that pisses me off if I'm Jeremy Swayman. Yeah, okay, it's not a huge gap, but that's not what you said to me when we sat down. And now you're saying this out in public and trying to smear me again. Okay, what is it? $200,000 a year. Besides the fact, Don't do that to me. If you want to offer me 64, use this. Pick up the phone and call me, so that we're not doing this in public and that we turn it into he said, she said, and you try to make me look bad and I try to make you look bad. That's not a good way of doing business at all.
Geez, that was like the Dave McCarthy, Carly Rae Jesperson right there. Just, pick up the phone. Call me maybe.
Call me maybe.
Call me Davey. I like it. Davey, good stuff, my man. We will chat with you next Tuesday when the regular season will have unofficially begun in Europe and then be officially beginning in North America next Tuesday. Should be fun.
Finally. Will
Swayman be signed by next Tuesday?
No, I don't think, because he said he's going to take a few days to determine what they want to do. At this point, even if I'm willing to sign, I might say screw you and I'll sign 4 games into the year just to make you sweat. Because I tell you what, it would really tick me off if I were Jeremy Swayman. Maybe it's an insight into how I operate too. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. Davey, great stuff, man. Appreciate it.
See you.
Dave McCarthy from Sirius XM. So I know that, well, it was close. No, it's not. You didn't offer 8 times. You didn't offer 64 million. You offered 62.4 million. It's close. It's not the same. It's definitely not insulting, but it's not the truth. The truth matters. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Well, sometimes you can. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. We'll come back. We got Ryan's rant and more on The Gregor Show.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Orangesicle, the Marathon, and the Original, made with oranges, bananas, strawberries, strawberry sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Mr. Rooter goes for a fall stroll.
Ah, the beauty of fall. These leaves are crunchier than that calcified shower head I replaced this morning. And the earthy yellow oranges and browns are as colorful as the wad of hair I pulled out of the shower drain.
Ugh, Mr. Rooter, can we talk about something else?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you didn't like fall. You look about as sour as the sewer line I unclogged yesterday.
For a plumber you'll truly fall for. Call Mr. Rooter.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
This is Kevin Carries from Sports 1440. Join me at Century Sports Bar and Lounge for a big watch party. We'll be showing the first big game of the season this Friday at 8 p.m. That's the Sports Bar at Century Casino, Fort Road, Edmonton. We will see you there.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
As a farmer, you can't afford to take any more risks than you already do. That's why you choose Invigor Hybrid Canola from BASF. It's not just the patented pod shatter reduction and clubroot resistant hybrids. It's the performance you trust to deliver year after year. This season, we're adding 3 new early maturing hybrids that are designed for your fields. So get ready to test the limits of your bins. See your retailer today and find out why Envigor has the top 3 hybrids in Alberta.
$47. Jason Gregor. Declan Kruger with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Terry Ryan, as always, along for the ride as we get to Terry's Tales, Ryan's Rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. Electrical preventative maintenance. That's what they do. On top of many other things, but that's an area that they specialize in. If you need a little bit of maintenance, give them a call. Or even better, go to actionelectrical.net. As TR, quickly, you're doing a film, you're doing a shoot for Hudson and Rex, is that right?
Yeah. I'm going to be in season 7, which we're almost wrapped. I play a small but important role on an episode in season 7, and I went through it all today. It was rather entertaining.
So give me before you get to your story, I'm just curious, how does it work? Do they call your agent and does he just pitch, okay, here's a role. Do you want to take it? Do you leave? Do you take every role? Do you turn any down? How does it work?
That's a great question. Here in Newfoundland, where I got into the union without an agent, anything that happens in Newfoundland, anything at all, I'll get an email. It could be for a 7-year-old girl or a dog or anything. It's so like most I don't qualify for, but I'll see, like the one today was, I answered it and it was, and I actually, the one today, I answered it, but they had reached out as well. Like I know the people here now, it's a little bit different. Once in a while, if they need something specific and they think I can do it. And today involved a stunt, right? So if it's a role with a stunt and I've worked with the stunt team and everything, and if it's a fall or a fight, then I stand a good chance of getting it. And then in the stunt world, I also often do stunts for some of the main actors there, just wear a wig and, get blown out of a car or whatever it might be. So I work on there, but today I'm I think I'm an ex-police officer, so I'm not the standard bad guy. I had to wear my tooth, put it that way. And I normally don't. I've got at this point, a couple of dozen credits, I would think, and only 2 that I can think of, including today, that I actually had a tooth in. Usually it's, a gangster or drug dealer or whatever.
So are you fine with that, or do you want to have more roles with your tooth in?
It's, you know what, at this point, I really, it's fun to be able to spread my wings a bit, but you need that. There's all kinds of actors that I'm sure that are as good and many that are better than I am, but it's like anything, you need practice, right? So if you're not getting anything, you know what I was going to do, I'll get to something else. There is a segue here, and I do have I can transfer this to hockey in a way. But, so I like to do as many auditions as I can. They used to make me feel uncomfortable, but they don't anymore and then I send them to people who are more experienced than I am, or someone that might be an evaluator, like a casting agent or whatever. I'm always doing that. I'm like, I don't like to be in your face, but if anybody offers help, okay, really, Natalie, are you going to help me because I'm going to do this? Sometimes I do the audition, even if I'm not going to get it. I'll see something come out that's probably or it might be a show that I've already been on or whatever, but I want to practice that role, right? Because there's people that read it with you, and there's only so many ways to get better, and practice when it comes to acting is so vital. But yeah, that's it. And there's a couple other things I got coming. I just did a movie called Skeet, and it ended up being accepted and well received at the Toronto International Film Festival. That's making the rounds now. It's I guess you could call it an indie movie. It's in Newfoundland. Nick Sexton and his production company. I forget what it's called, but Sean Dalton's in there. He's was in the Trues for a little bit. He made the transition to acting, and he's just great. It's a phenomenal movie. These things, to be honest with you, I don't make many choices. Up until recently, it was just, I'll if it's there, I'll take it. But when the things I say in Newfoundland that I told you that I get everything that comes down, and I'll audition, I'll talk to the people, I know them. Anything outside it, I do have an agent, and they're both. It's called Ambition Talent, and they're in Toronto, and so they will see things outside of here, like the Lifetime movie. I did a show called Made to Kill. They, I wouldn't really have known about it. And they came here, but they were a company so it was, some of it was shot here.
Okay.
They knew that, but it wasn't a Newfoundland production. So those kind of things, it's, I am on the go a lot, but I prioritize acting now. That just started recently. That's the number one priority, because I realized that I got lucky, and I went through school and everything. But when I was working those crew jobs on shows like Republic of Doyle and Frontier, Maudie, Little Dog, I can go on and on. There's lots of shows that I battled at being crew or stand-in. Most I didn't do any acting. Some I had the odd stunt. But it just so happened that the productions I was getting here had people like Ethan Hawke and Jason Momoa and Russell Crowe, and so fortunate. It's like you could grow up playing hockey and have all kinds of practice. But if you happen to grow up in Edmonton and and every day you're seeing a bunch of the best players on the planet, and literally two of the best in the world, it's going to have an influence, right? That's the advantage of living in a place like that. Well, I just happen to live here. And then when I got asked to do Letterkenny, that is, and then now Shoresy, I not a day goes by I don't appreciate that I've happened to find my way into some rather well-respected productions. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Sorry to derail, so you can get to your tale now. You can tie it in.
No, you weren't derailing. I really didn't think I had enough to speak of here, because there's things I like to talk about, and sometimes I'm like, well, if they want 10 minutes, but look, there's just one thing I want to say though at this time of year again. Last week I talked a little bit about what I would do at camp, but I'll get into a full rant on the parents treating it. The parents should go to these camps. Obviously, there's a difference between motivating your kid and driving them nuts, right? And so that's a healthy balance. But without getting right into that, if you're a parent who thinks your kid should be on the AAA team, or you're a kid that thinks, what the hell, I got cut, what do you have to work on? Because if that's skating, or even if it's hockey sense, I'm a big fan. You wouldn't think it, because I tell stories, and the whole way up, I either played my own level or went up a level, right? But that's for certain players that, it's a judgment call with each player. I think I was ready for it. And when I was real young, I was a bit of a blue chip prospect, so that I could navigate my way around the older players. I think, well, there was ups and downs, but I think I handled it pretty well. But that's not for everybody. And if you're there and you're the last cut on the AAA team, it means on the AA team, or AA to A, or whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you're going to get more time and space with the puck, and that is massive. That's what we try to do in practice. Give me the puck. I want some time, space. Now I get the So if you don't have that time and space, you're not going to improve anything but checking, I guess, your defensive game probably. And, you're going to have to learn to think fast, because you're going to get it and have to get rid of it right away. But a lot of players, I'll tell you, Ryan Clough was one of them that I watched. I mentioned Cleary earlier. I might as well talk about personal experience. Ryan Clough's one. Ryan Clough was devastated. Didn't make the Bantam AAA. Midget AAA even. Yeah, it was midget. Chloe didn't even go away. midget AAA. Then the second year he made it, right? And then he went and he didn't make major junior right away. It was junior B, then junior A, then major junior. But I would argue when he went, I mean, I knew he had the spunk. I knew he had the hands to play major junior, but apparently if he didn't make it, then someone else disagreed. And you know what Chloe did with that time? He became an offensive ace. We never looked at him like that growing up. I mean, he's younger than me, but you're aware of all the good players.
Yeah.
And honestly, part of what made him successful was having just a couple of years being like the big fish on the lower team because he just had more time and space.
Dude, I argue that till I'm blue in the face to people. There's
good.
This whole adage of people, there's nothing for him to learn in junior for some players. I'm like, what are you talking about? Have they ever penalty killed? Because here's the truth. The vast majority of offensive guys in junior don't get to be offensive guys in the NHL. That's just a fact. Look, there's 60-some junior teams. Okay? There's only 32 NHL teams. That doesn't include the European players or the college players. So, of course not. And so there's way too many offensive-minded players who come out of junior, and they're kind of a one-trick pony in the sense that, or they're unwilling to want to add energy, physicality, or defensive awareness, penalty killing to their repertoire. They can't do it. And they're done, right? It doesn't mean they don't have skill. It doesn't mean they don't have elite offensive skill. It means they don't have other attributes to help make a team. Because there's lots of guys who are big. Connor Brown outscored Connor McDavid in junior. Now, granted, he was a few years older, but still, right? Like, you can be a great junior offensive player, but if you, for the vast majority, you got to be able to bring that other element. And so sometimes you can work on your offense, but even at that other levels, you know what? Sometimes you need a good coach that says, hey, yeah, your offensive game's unreal, but now let's challenge you and let's see if we can improve. I know your offensive game's good. I'm not going to try to change that. Let's see if you can be better defensively, or let's see if you can learn how to kill a penalty. And if you can, then maybe that will help you get your foot in the door at the higher level.
Which is why a guy like you might often see great stats and you're like, why the hell did he go back to junior or whatever? But that's often the case. Like, it might happen to Easton Cowan right now, right? It very well might. And he was, I think, the player of the year, wasn't he? And but I know stats. If the people evaluating him think he might need another year and learn some other aspects of the game. I remember Jerome McGinley like really coming on that last year he played junior, like really coming on. And then halfway through the year when he was coming on, people are like, oh, maybe he should have made it. I'm like, no, I see it the other way. Like, he came back and got a chance to really dominate. He was a great player, but then he came back and like, boom, he burst onto the NHL scene. I think in the playoffs, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
no, you're right.
He
came in the
burst
playoffs.
onto the playoff. Like, he was confident. I remember talking to him about it. I mean, we played under 18 Team Canada together. And I remember, he was a good friend and a peer. And, I mean, I played left wing for a team in his division. He played right wing. We had lots of run-ins. So I really respect the guy, whether he had an NHL career or not. We used to speak, and I remember just looking at his whole presence and attitude out there. And I'm like, I'm the other way. I think that he came back to junior and realized that he is an absolute wagon. And at the same time was working. And by the time he got to the NHL, that transition was rather seamless. Whereas I think he needed that time to dominate, and not everybody sees it that way. And the NHL is one thing. Same thing goes for Bantam and Midget, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's true. TR, thanks for this. Happy filming, and we will chat with you tomorrow. Terry, during hockey season, is moving to Tuesday, Wednesdays on the show, so he'll join us every Wednesday from 4 until 6. TR, we'll chat with you tomorrow.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Edmonton. Talk to you guys soon.
There you go. That's Terry Ryan, our Tuesday, Wednesday co-host here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Quick break. Let's get to Declan Kruger and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. They just want to say a big thank you to everyone. 1,273 bikes. The goal was 1,000. You crushed it. To help out Sports Central, Fountain Tire had drop-off locations, so a big thank you from everyone at Fountain Tire for helping out the bike drive for kids, Sports Central.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, roster moves for the Oilers. The Oilers have placed Ben Gleason, Phil Camp, Lane Pedersen, and Colin Delia on waivers for the purpose of assignment. They've loaned James Hamlin to the Bakersfield Condors and Bo Akey to the Barrie Colts. Six-time Pro Bowler and three-time All-Pro Devontae Adams has informed the Raiders he prefers to be traded, likely having played his last snap for the club. The NFL is suspending Buffalo Bills linebacker Von Miller for 4 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. And in the NHL, Montreal Canadiens forward Patrick Laine has sustained a sprain to his left knee that will not require surgery. His rehabilitation period is expected to be from 2 to 3 months. One final piece of news from the NHL, the Blue Jackets have been granted an exemption to fall below the NHL salary cap floor by the October 7th deadline. Finals from around the MLB. One earlier today was the Tigers over the Astros 3-1. 2 games on right now in wildcard matchups. Royals leading the Orioles 1-0 at the end of the 6th, and the Mets and Brewers tied 0-0 in the top of the first. WNBA playoff resuming tonight. Aces and Liberty at 5:30. Liberty leading that series 1-0, and Sun and Lynx at 7:30. Connecticut leading that series 1-0. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray Radio Station. CHJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need: Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Takeout presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for kids sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor broadcasting live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapickout.com.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bowl RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. And by then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me. Genius technicians who check every component. Dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to Noble, and we'll take care of you.
And that's Noble.
Just after 4 o'clock. Welcome back. It is the Gregor Show presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca. We're going to get in the game. If you do want to try it, casinos are wagering, be sure to use your game sense. Learn more. Go to gamesense.ab.ca. Jason Gregor. Connor Halley is back doing some soon-to-be father duties. Just getting the latest checkup on young Halley. Because what are you, like 7 weeks away or something?
Yeah. Second week of November is the due date, so closing in quick.
Yeah, are you nesting? You know what that means? You know, no, you're getting everything ready.
Yeah.
You're like the bird, and you're getting all the twigs and everything. Have you built a crib?
Crib has been built.
Oh.
Everything's been set up. Clothes have been washed and everything like that.
Oh.
Yeah, we're pretty much ready for everything, I think.
Okay.
That'll change as soon as the kid shows up, I'm sure. But yeah, for now we're good.
Oh yeah, for now you're all right. All right, so that's good. Well, you have nieces, right? So you've been around kids before. You're not a complete newbie to the situation, right?
Yeah, 2 nieces, 2 nephews. So
changed the diaper before?
Not really. No, that's one of those things I've tried to avoid as long as possible.
Yeah. Wow. You'll do it.
I hear it's different when it's yours, but
yeah, it's not. It's not nearly as not, especially for newborns, is nothing. It's just wait till they get once they get on some food. That's when it can become a little bit of a less than desirable job. But hey, got to do what you got to do. So that's the you always tell your kids, hey, I changed your diaper, you'll change mine when I'm older. So you definitely would take it the job of the parent. I would think at the young age. So well, that's great. Everything's good. So that's fantastic. It's exciting times. How many hours have you spent searching for Chargers baby outfits?
So the niece and nephew who have previously received Chargers gear
have
now passed it back on.
Oh.
I've only made one Chargers purchase, but we got the Eric Weddle jersey. We've got a bunch of the onesies, hats. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay. Eric Weddle jersey. Like you might want to update some of that stuff.
Yeah. You can. It really dates itself, but
yeah,
can't accuse the kid of being a bandwagoner.
No, well, that's true. Wow, the best is going to be when he says, "Dad, I'm not cheering for the Chargers." Right?
Yes, you are.
Why? Why would you do that? Just let him choose his own. He doesn't need to be stuck in the vortex of suck.
It's true. Well, at one point he'll make his own decision, but
true.
Not for the first few years.
Not for the first few. Yeah. He'll just gravitate toward, Dad, why are you swearing? All right. What's wrong, Dad? So that'll be great. We'll see how that's fun. Speaking of the NFL, another weekend in the NFL. What stood out to you this past weekend?
Chargers losing was tough. The Buffalo Bills, we talked about it on Thursday, getting a chance to kind of shed the label for any haters that were out there. They didn't do so. So we'll see if they can do it again. They got another opportunity when they take on a good Houston Texans team. The Minnesota Vikings continually getting it done. I think that's got a storyline we got to give some credit to because well-coached team. There was questions with the quarterback position. They've handled it in stride and done a very good job doing so.
They have. And the other big news over the weekend, as we get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies. As many of you, your teams are back on the road and safely take you or your group to your next destination. Book your ride at silentrides.ca. And Pete Rose, one of the greatest hitters baseball has ever seen. Charlie Hustle was his moniker when he played. And a gentleman who knew him very well wrote the book, Charlie Hustle. Keith O'Brien joins us now. Keith, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, Jason. Thanks for having me.
So, Pete Rose, now here's an interesting one because he had a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball to the Hall of Fame. Well, his life is now expired. So does that mean in theory, in technical terms, excuse me, could he be inducted now, do you think? Do you think there's any chance of that?
Based on my understanding, in order for him to appear on the ballot at Cooperstown, he would need to be officially reinstated. It's based on my understanding. So I think that would be the first thing that would have to happen. Then, of course, he could appear on the ballot and, the voting would start fresh. He'd have the full 10 years, as would anyone else. But, I mean, who knows if that's going to happen? For years, people have speculated within baseball writers, journalists, that Rose would only get in to the Hall of Fame or have a chance to do that if and when he was gone. Now, of course, we're here in that situation. So I guess we're going to find out what's going to happen.
So, Charlie, you wrote the book, Charlie Hustle, The Rise and Fall of Pete Rose and the Last Glory Days of Baseball, Keith. And it's a fantastic read. And came out earlier. And this book is one where I think a lot of people, and I actually met Pete. I had the opportunity. Pete was in Edmonton many years ago, and I sat down and did a hot stove kind of with him, got to talk to him, spent a few hours with him. And, it was very honest. He was steadfast that, at the start of the year, he'd get to his book and he would just bet on his team for every game. He said, here you go. And that's what I'm betting on. He bet his team to win every game. Now, in hindsight, sure, shouldn't have done it. I get all that. But it wasn't like he was betting at a certain time saying, oh, I know which pitcher is pitching, so now I'm going to go. Well, I guess, what did you learn in all of your research? Because I know when the book's written, all of the work is done hours and hours and months prior. So what did you learn that captivated you the most in your research and writing of Charlie Hustle?
Well, yeah, I want to clarify one thing, Jason. You're absolutely right. Pete never bet against his team based on all the evidence that exists. And he did always say he always bet for them. However, that would mean he's betting every single night on the Reds. And the scant records that do exist suggest that particularly didn't happen. That he might bet on the Reds a few nights and then take a night off and then resume again. Again, there are limited written records. But that said, I think what's interesting about his story, both before his death and forevermore, is that he was an iconic player. And he became an iconic player, not because of the statistics, not because of the accolades, but because of how he played. He played with that reckless abandon, that fury, almost a violence about him on the field, which earned him the nickname Charlie Hustle. And I think what's fascinating about his story as a person is that, he succeeds as a player and fails as a man for really the same reasons. He's got that fury that he plays with on the field. He refuses to bend to anyone. He is unwilling to be vulnerable, and he believes in every situation on the field that he will prevail. And that those are really great qualities to have as a player in any sport. But those same qualities are, his refusal to bend, his refusal to be vulnerable, his utter belief in himself that he will prevail, are the same reasons why he will not admit the truth in 1989 about his gambling, and indeed will continue to lie about it for 15 more years. And it's the lies that hurt him more than anything else.
So that's really kind of what it came down to, right, Charlie? It was that because he eventually did admit that again, but for 15 years, he was like, I didn't do it. Right now, it's not the first. Well, I guess maybe being the first guy, but definitely not the last in baseball, man. I remember guys slamming their fist on the table. I never took steroids. And then a week later, or a month later, boom, they took it. So, you obviously got to know Pete and you talked about like what makes you great as a player can sometimes lead to your downfall as a man, because the sporting world and the, kind of the arena of sport is very different than the arena of life. And you don't, to show vulnerability in sports sometimes can make you susceptible to not succeeding. But in life, you need to show that. So you talked about the research you did, and there wasn't a lot of written ones. In any of the research that you found, was there ever a pattern that suggested he would bet more when he thought his team had a better chance to win? Was that ever uncovered at all?
So the short answer is I did not find any patterns like that. There are only a handful of written records related to his gambling on sports, and specifically his gambling on baseball. There is a couple dozen pages of a notebook that a friend in his inner circle kept in the 1986 season. And then there are notes that another inner circle friend turned over to baseball investigators in 1989 that come from the 1987 season. So we're talking about a very small sample size from a man who, by all accounts, was gambling on sports for probably 20 years and gambling on baseball for at least the last 3 seasons that he was playing. And so, it's hard to derive from that any sort of pattern. But what those records show, I think most importantly, Jason, is that he wasn't a very good gambler. He lost a lot of money. And I don't say that to cast aspersions on Pete Rose.
Yeah.
The house will always win. The lines are set up so that the casinos prevail. And the records show that Pete lost a lot of money. Specifically lost a lot of money when he wasn't betting on baseball. And so in the spring of 1986, he's betting a lot on the NCAA tournament, the basketball tournament here in America. He is losing a ton of money in March of 1986, as much as $30,000 a week based on the notes that were kept. And so what begins to happen in mid-April 1986, Pete begins to bet on the thing he knows the most. He begins to bet on baseball.
Yeah. And so now you mentioned, so he bet as a player in his last 3 years?
So Pete always denied that he bet as a player. He would say that his betting on baseball began in October 1986. That's 2 months after his last at bat as a player. And, in the postseason after the Reds were eliminated, based on the notebook records kept by his friend Mike Bertolini from the 1986 season, the gambling on baseball does begin in April of 1986. He is at that point still a player. Now, why Pete didn't want to admit that, why he didn't want to concede that, I'm not sure. Frankly, one problem that Pete had in the last couple decades of his life was that he never fully reckoned with the truth. He apologized ultimately for betting on baseball. He admitted that he did that, but then he would quibble with other things or refuse to admit what was at times factually true. And again, based on the notebook records kept by his friend Mike Bertolini, the betting on baseball does begin in the spring of 1986.
Okay. Oh, fascinating. So we're joined by author of Charlie Hustle, Keith O'Brien. So Keith, you uncovered that. So that's obviously a big change from, people I only bet when he's a manager, and obviously that's not the case. Now betting as a player, because people would go through and watch the tapes. Because you could see the tapes, because if you go back to the betting scandal of the White Sox in the early 1900s, right, where there were guys that were, basically letting the other team win because they had to. Was there ever, I don't know if you went back through the games, did you ever uncover anything that would suggest that Pete Rose's in-game actions impacted, his wagering? Because he always supposedly bet on his team to win, so I guess he would just try his hardest. And was there anything that you ever saw or anybody ever saw that would suggest something nefarious when it came to him and his betting with his play on the field?
No. The short answer is no. There is no evidence that he ever bet against his team, that he ever altered a game to negatively affect his team. There is no evidence of that. And Pete would argue about that and use that as a point of emphasis, suggesting, as he said, I was just like a jockey on a horse. I was betting on my own horse to win. But listen, it's not that simple. Right. There are a few key problems with that line of thinking. The first being simply that as soon as you bet on your team to win, even if you're betting on yourself, you have now placed your financial gain potentially over the good of the team. That was an argument that Commissioner Bart Giamatti made in 1989 when Pete was banned from baseball for life. I think more problematic is that he was deeply in debt to bookies at times. Again, this is something that Pete Rose regularly denied, and yet the facts are clear. He was regularly in debt to bookies. And when you are in debt to bookies, you are placing yourself and the game at risk. And Pete's debts at times were enormous. And so while there is no evidence, to use your term, of anything nefarious happening, Pete put himself, the Cincinnati Reds, and the game of baseball in a situation where something could have happened that, would have been terrible for the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So as much as the book was, is about, the betting, of course, but then there's also like Pete Rose, who is somebody who, you live a life for 15 years. I have to think that weighs on you. Did you ever talk to him, Keith, about that? Like just living with that, because if you lie to your spouse or your friend or whatever, that's one thing, but you're living a massive lie in the public for 15 years. How did that impact him?
Based on my reporting, Pete Rose wasn't just lying to us, the fans, or to reporters. He was lying even to his closest associates, his closest friends.
Yeah.
His closest friends in Cincinnati learned at the same time as the rest of us did in 2004 when he changed his narrative that, yes, he had bet on baseball. All of those years, they had believed what Pete was telling them. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of fans believed it, based on polling that was done in the 1990s and into the early 2000s. At times, more than half of baseball fans believed Pete Rose.
Yeah.
So this lie was pervasive. It hurt the game. It hurt the city of Cincinnati. It hurt the Cincinnati Reds. It hurt Major League Baseball. It hurt the memory of Commissioner Bart Giamatti, who had put his career and his integrity on the line investigating Pete Rose. And, one thing that Pete never did, unfortunately, is he never recognized the damage that lie caused. He would say that he regretted betting on baseball, but not that he regretted lying about it for 15 years. I think in that way, Pete really, to me, is a tragic figure. This book, Charlie Hustle, yeah, it's about baseball. And yeah, it is, I believe, the definitive biography of Pete Rose. But to me, it was always more than that. I began to think of this as a Greek tragedy that just happened to play out in and around an American baseball field.
Keith O'Brien joined us, author of Charlie Hustle, The Rise and Fall of Pete Rose. And it also, so how many years would it take you to do the research for this?
It took me about 2.5 years from beginning to publication.
What was the hardest research to try to track down the truth?
Yeah, great question, Jason. This, I've been a journalist for almost 30 years, and I've never worked on a story like this one, where people who witnessed the same moment, the same argument, the same wager, people who were in the room have widely varying accounts of what happened.
Okay.
And I would say the greatest challenge I had was at times parsing fact from fiction.
Yeah.
And trying to get to the closest version of the truth. And, I did, do 27 hours of recorded interviews with Pete Rose and over 150 hours of interviews with others, the principal characters, in this story. But just as valuable were a treasure trove of federal court documents that have been sitting in a federal court repository for the past 35, 38, 39 years, which shows that the FBI was onto Rose's inner circle by the mid 1980s. And one by one, these men get picked up for various things, steroid dealing, cocaine distribution, their own tax evasion. And one by one, they begin to turn on each other. And what these documents, thousands and thousands of pages of documents, show clearly is that, by 1986, 87, the walls are closing in around Pete Rose, but he is blissfully unaware of it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of fascinating. Is that it's the old George Costanza. It's not a lie, Jerry, if you believe it. And it kind of sense here that, for Pete, he had convinced himself maybe that, you know what? No, I didn't do it. And if I tell everybody and I keep repeating that eventually I believe it and everybody else will believe it. And the other thing is I'm assuming that's difficult when you go to research something like this because it's so many years ago. I've read books on psychology and just on the psychology of our memory and how we think we remember something isn't exactly how it actually occurred. Right. So as you mentioned, you're talking to people and they could be telling you this is what I think happened. And it's close, but not necessarily exactly close. And that could be the difference between, the truth and what's fiction. And that has to be, I would think, James, as somewhat between a mixture of excitement and just frustration.
Well, as a journalist, I've long encountered that any journalist has, and it doesn't even have to be a story from 40 or 50 years ago. You could do interviews with people about something they witnessed 5 days ago and get varying accounts of what happened. So memory is fungible, which is why it's important to talk to as many people as possible, and whenever possible, document your story, your narrative through written records, court records, depositions, memories that were relayed in the moment.
Keith, I really appreciate this. I highly recommend it for everybody to get Charlie Hustle, The Rise and Fall of Pete Rose. Now, I'm looking at your bookshelf behind you. Obviously, you're accomplished writers. You must have read a lot. Which book of the book? Because I'm a big reader. I've read the Ali. I'm looking at some of the titles. I'm trying to see which ones I've read. Which book behind you would you recommend I read? So, as somebody who prefers nonfiction, I like kind of true story stuff.
Well, I do love Ali by Jonathan Eig that you see there. Giannis by Marin Fodder is a great book for those who are interested in basketball. And I believe one of my favorite baseball books is up there. David Halberstam's.
What's Outside Shot over your right?
That was my first book. It was it came out about 12 years ago. It's the story of the power and the meaning of basketball in rural Kentucky. It's told through full access that I got with one high school team there.
Okay, and is that one? What's Fly Girls about?
Fly Girls is a forgotten narrative of female aviators in the 1920s and 30s fighting for the right to fly and race planes. It's essentially the story of Amelia Earhart and her friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh, well, okay. Well, Fly Girls, I'll be signing up for that one. Keith, thank you so much, man. That's fascinating. We've got a lot of texts from people already who want to get the book. Obviously, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere you get books online. Charlie Hustle. And I think it's fitting. It came out, of course, earlier this year, and Pete, unfortunately, just passed away at the age of 83. Sad timing for him, but for somebody who wants to get to kind of maybe a better understanding of the story, there's no book that's closer to this one. So I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Jason. It was my pleasure to be here. Have a great night.
Keith O'Brien, the author of Charlie Hustle. And think about, it's fascinating how all of our memories at times, could change. And I can imagine, if you've ever lied about something and then you kind of keep it hidden. And maybe it's for your parents, usually, at a young age, teenager or something, you tell a lie and God eats you. And then eventually, later on in life, hey, Mom, Dad, remember when I told you that? And it's like almost a relief, even though it's 15 years later, maybe now it doesn't matter, but still kind of a relief. Now imagine being Pete Rose and having that lie and having to live it every day for 15 years. and being so stubborn because it's true. All the psychology books, everything will tell you, parents, when you own up and tell the truth, even if you tell the lie on Friday, if you turn around on Monday and say, you know what, that's not the truth, here it is, people are upset, but they're like, okay, all right, now we deal with it. Pete probably would have been in the Hall of Fame if he wasn't so stubborn about the lie. But that's what Keith said. That's his personality. He couldn't do it. It's crazy. Quick break. When we come back, Jason Strutt. We're going to talk about Mr. Brown, the defenseman. I know people are like, oh my God, he's terrible. But there's one element of his game specifically that I watched last night that, because of the style of player it concerns me. I want to get Strutty's thoughts on it next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's Sports20.
You'll see us digging holes. No, we're not looking for buried treasure. You'll see us digging trenches as well. And no, we're not building a fort. We're GS Construction, and you'll see us in neighborhoods throughout the Edmonton area. So what are we doing? GS Construction provides rehabilitation and upgrade services to Edmonton and surrounding communities. Some of our underground utilities have served us for years and are past their useful lives. We replace them, so they're around for years to come. Find out more at gsconstruction.ca.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the words. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
This week at The Brick, when you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing savings throughout the store, like up to 30% off furniture, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $500 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, when you buy more, we give more. A portion of our sales will be donated to your local Children's Hospital Foundation, helping to transform children's lives with every purchase you make. Some exclusions apply. See in store or online at thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Jaffa Machinery. Did you know that Jaffa offers in-house and on-site heavy equipment service? Rain or shine, Jaffa's service department is here for you. Visit jaffamachinery.com for all the details.
On Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
It's a great song, buddy. Love it. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. The Gregor Show was always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And if you were a believer in the road teams today in MLB, you would be 2 for 2 because Detroit on the road wins 3-2, and The Kansas City Royals just picked up their first ever postseason shutout victory on the road. They've never won a playoff game on the road by posting a shutout until today. No surprise, Bobby Witt Jr. drove in the only run, and Cole Reagans, man, the guy was on fire, but then he got calf cramps. Had to leave after 6 scoreless innings, but the bullpen comes in, and so if you went with the road teams today, you would be 2 for 2. So the Braves, can they do it? Can the Mets do it? We shall see. Now they both played a doubleheader yesterday. We'll see if that factors in or not. Now we're going to talk a little hockey. Jason Gregor, as it's time for Struds On, brought to you by Action Electric.
The Jason Gregor Show presents Struds On.
It's the memories. That's what you remember. Memories. It's a bouquet of enjoyment coming in my mouth there. But you know, it's like I always say, HK, who cares?
It's time for Struds On.
Jason Strudwick, former NHLer, co-host of Got Your Back podcast. Join the Struddy. How you doing?
Yo, I'm good. What's up, boys?
Hey, man, we are a week away from the North American puck drop of the National Hockey League regular season, but it's only 3 days away from it starting with New Jersey and Buffalo in Europe. And, the Oilers are down to their final few cuts. Struddy, they got 8 defensemen now in camp. Darnell Nurse is going to play one, if not both, of these games on the road trip here to end the preseason. There's lots of people that, aren't enamored by Josh Brown. Now, I don't get too crazy about preseason games for veteran players. I think maybe it's harder for a physical guy. But so I watched him closely yesterday, Struds, and I know you played big physical games, so I want to ask you. I noticed on 4 different occasions, and so maybe it's intensity, but he gets to go, and, it's a one-on-one battle in the corner, and he's going to you want to tie the guy up. 3 different times he goes there. The Canuck guy just spins off of him. Boom, plays alive. He doesn't pin him. I'm like, that should be like the bread and butter for Brown. I don't expect him to be Mr. Passer, but if he can't do that, should I be concerned, or is it, it's preseason, so it's not as much? Where do you come out on it?
So I see Josh Brown and I being very similar, right? Big guys like to play a heavy game, when we're aggressive. And I believe that people like Josh Brown and myself, you have to prepare like every game is the game 7 of the playoffs, because you're fighting for the next start, right? The next game, the next whatever it is. So I would have a hard time believing that he's choosing not to finish those checks, like he's being a nice guy, because I don't think there are nice guys out there. If you're when you're like Brown or myself, these types of heavier physical players, you've got to go in there with intention to play every shift like it matters. So I agree with you. I think that when it's Josh Brown, you're going to the corner, your job is to stop cycles, right? Put guys into the wall so that your center or whomever can come and take that puck out of that area. And if you're not doing that, I always felt, okay, if I'm not shutting down cycles, I'm not being physical, getting the odd fight, what am I doing? Like, what is my job? When the coach says, okay, we're putting this player in for this, what is this? What is this that he's bringing? Because it doesn't separate from anything else. So I think that, for Josh, and I get it, it is preseason. I never took a preseason game lightly. I couldn't afford to. So, for Josh, I think the next start he gets, I think he's really got to be firm in the corners, firm in front of the net, be physical when you can. And honestly, if you get into some kind of fight, just to let everybody know, like, hey, this is what I do. I think that'd be a real positive thing. And again, I feel really comfortable saying these things, Grace, because I was him. I was the same guy. Like there's no difference. So he has a 3-year contract. I think that's really positive of him. I love seeing that as a former guy that was always fighting for, these month-to-month contracts. But it doesn't mean you can change who you are. There's a reason that he got a 3-year contract. There's something he does, and he has to do it every single time you get on the ice, because puck moving just isn't, quote unquote, our strength, right? That's not what we do very well.
Yeah. And like I look at it, and so, he's been with Kulak lots. It seems like it's his job to start the season. He's going to be the 3rd pair guy. But he's got Troy Stetcher, who's played 496 NHL games, and he's a little ball of hate, and I mean that in a complimentary way. He's a guy who I think has had to prove doubters wrong time and time and time again. How, like, I got to think Brown's got a pretty short leash, does he not?
Well, let's look at it this way. There's three right shot defensemen that are competing for 2 spots right now. And let's assume they don't make any other moves. So Emberson, obviously Brown, and Stetcher you talked about. I know what Josh Brown is. I didn't need to see him have training camp. I know exactly what he is and what he can bring. Stetcher, I feel the same way. If you look at the second goal last night against, he was caught watching Smith going in front, flying by and tipping that puck. That's your guy. And you can see by his reaction, he's like, oh boy, that was my guy. So Stetcher plays hard. He's a little undersized. And then Emerson's a complete wild card because he has so few NHL games and he's coming to a situation where probably, he's going to be asked to do quite a bit. The Oilers they're a smaller team. And I think overall they're smaller, but they're less physical. Last year they had Darnay, they had Kane, they had, Fogle, who at times would be somewhat physical. They had Darnell Nurse. This year there's only 2 of the 4 guys right now. So, this might, for Stetcher, it might unfortunately be a situation where we're looking at the greater good when they put Josh Brown in because they want a bigger body, a little bit heavier body. And you can pick and choose the games. If you're playing Colorado Avalanche, you probably don't need that heavy body. And a lot of coaches did that to me. That'd just be honest, say, hey, man, we don't need you in this type of game tonight, but we're playing Chicago in 2 nights and you'll be playing a lot and be ready to battle. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I think that there might be some platoon action between Stetcher and Josh Brown to start, depending on the game, because Stetcher does get around, quicker than Josh Brown does.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no debate about that. Jason Gregor with Jason Strudwick here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. I think Noah Phillips, has done everything he can so far, Struds. Now, the final 2 games are the hardest games. Make no mistake about it. They're going to be more NHL rosters for sure. And I just look at Noah Phillips. He's 6'3". He skates. He shoots. He can win faceoffs. He's physical. Like, you talk about the lack of physicality, he can bring some. Plus, if he's my 13th forward on the team and he's a center, then Derek Ryan can play center, or Corey Perry, or, they can platoon and Derek Ryan can go to the wing if Perry doesn't have to play every day. Whereas if I keep Raphael Lavoie, it's only him and Corey Perry that move in and out. You know what I mean? So I think the way Philp has played, plus his versatility in killing penalties, gives him a leg up. What do you need to see from him in the final 2 games, or have you seen enough for him to make this roster?
Well, the group of players that, Peterson and Hamblin, these guys that are trying to get a spot, I think he's earned a spot, which is a surprise considering he hasn't played for as long as he has. It's actually somewhat embarrassing to think how well he's played. He sat out for so long and has played really well. And if he played the whole year last year, you wonder where he'd be at, right? Where his career be at right now. Now I know that, you just wonder what could have been. But now he's here and he's played really well. I was determined in my mind that he was going to go down and start in the minors. I would still lean towards that. This is why, Griggs. I want him to continue to play some meaningful minutes. I think that we will see him up here, and I think he could become a regular player on this team, at some point. And sometimes when the easiest course of action is the one that doesn't require you to make decisions on waivers for guys that go, to put them on waivers, at this point, maybe you say, okay, we're gonna send him down, Cape Lavoie, and see what he can do, knowing that we have this, what could be an ace in the back pocket.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it for them. I do wonder though, like his size and speed and strength is enticing. And if he plays here and he plays penalty kill, Struds, and means he gets, 10, 11 minutes a night, is 10, 11 minutes in the NHL better than 17 in the AHL?
Yeah, and that's a really fair point. And if he is going to kill penalties, I think that's important. So let's identify the other centers who are going to play. So who do you got? You got Nuge, you got Henrique. Who else on the way? You got Paul Colson's killing penalties is Arvidsson. We got Brown.
Yeah,
that's 5 right there. So who am I missing? So is there one more spot there, and maybe one more center in there somewhere, right? If you assume that Henrique and Nuge are the 2 centers,
But Nuge can't take face-offs, right? Ryan takes the face-off, so Phil plays with him.
Fair. So Ryan, yeah. So maybe that is the 6 guys, because Derek Ryan as well. So maybe we're at 6 or 7 here. So yeah, there's definitely opportunity. I'd like to see him kill penalties against NHL groups, like full NHL teams, which we might see the next 2 games.
Yeah.
But this is, you know what, great. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I'd probably put in the minors, but this is what you want as a young prospect. You want the coaching staff, the management, the fans, and guys like you and I, media, to say, hey, this guy probably doesn't deserve to get sent down. That is a really, really healthy thing. And if you look at the all the guys that have been trying to make the team, is there anyone who's made a stronger case to make an NHL spot?
No.
There isn't. And that's a really good thing. So they have a hard choice. So if he stays, great. If he doesn't, that's a hard conversation. And he's going down armed with the knowledge that he will be back and he can play in the NHL. Like, he's really close. So, the short term, it could go either way. But I think long term, there's a player here. And I like his size, like the way he wins face-offs. And I like the way he's on the defensive side of the puck. And when you're playing that bottom 6, that's the job, right? Play on the defensive side. Don't give up easy chances. Get in the offensive zone. Hang on to pucks, rag it, try to grind teams down, set the table for one of those top 2 lines with either a penalty, a good offensive zone time, or a quick change.
Well, how about the fact, Struddy? He's actually sat out 2 of the last 4 years because in 2021, the Bears didn't play due to COVID.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. So he didn't play in
Smart.
21, played in 22 and 3, didn't play in 24, and now he's back. Like, this guy, it's another great example of late developers. And late developers, I'm not talking 12 years old. I'm not talking 18. He's 26. And it's someone who started to find his stride at 24, because that year, his second half of the season 2 years ago is where he was excellent. And at this time last year, the Oilers were hoping he was going to come to camp and compete for a job, and obviously didn't happen. But fast forward a year, and he's right in the mix, no question about it. You look at finally, Struddy, just like the preseason games last night. Connor McDavid mentioned, hey, he basically asked the coach to play a game. It kind of like McDavid's wired a little bit different, right? Like, he was like, he's so focused where he's like, I need to play another preseason game because I want to get into his exact words. I wanted to get into a rhythm.
So last year they had the captain skates that were well documented, how hard everyone worked, and they were razor sharp focus, ready to come in. And, even Connor admitted that by Christmas he was burned out because he just worked so hard to get ready and just wanted to win the Stanley Cup in September 17th, right? So I think part of the job of a coach is to know when to hammer, hit the gas, and maybe sometimes pump the brakes on your guys to give them a little break. Now, if let's say the team is firing at 85% right now. If everyone plays both the next 2 games, let's say they get to 91, is that worth it, or is just rest, or just not wear and tear, and just maybe they get to 88 if they only play each day play 1 game of the next 2, and I know the numbers probably don't work out, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be some understanding that the season starts on game 1, and you got to peak for game 83, and then ultimately be healthy for game whatever it is, 100 and something. So I'll be really interested to see if they do play the team, quote unquote, the big guys, 2 games back to back, or do they kind of maybe give one team and then have a little bit lighter team the next time, or vice versa? Because it's a long season. I get you want to feel great, but no matter what you do, you won't be right. But what I do like, I think you can really help the team in practice. Getting rid of extra players and get down to numbers, then practice with purpose. And I saw your tweet today, the way they were working on things. That is what I think is really valuable, is that practice time to get everyone on the same page, to feel that everyone understands what we're trying to do out here, and then rep after rep after rep through the various stages of the game and or rushes that Connor's talking about.
Lastly, Struddy, what do you make of the Giants this year?
Well, we're tracking well, man. That's this is what we want. I don't want a 7-8 win season. That's just, to me, it's fool's gold, right? I want to have I'm looking at a 3-win season, and I'll be cheering for it at the end. I'll take it. Now the problem is this draft, it doesn't look like it's very good. They say that there's some really weakness in this draft, which really does make me nervous. But watching Malik Neighbors, maybe one of those talented receivers in the league already, knocked out cold on the sidelines. What are you fighting for here? You're for a second win. And I know that sounds terrible, but like, Danny's been throwing him suicide passes. It's hard to watch. Would Peyton Manning throw suicide passes to your elite receiver? I don't know. So I don't know. I guess I maybe turned on Danny, but Greg, like 7-8 wins. Does it really? Are they going to take another big step the next year? I think you're just kidding yourself if you're a Giants fan. You think that.
But I don't know if you're turning on Danny Struddy. I think your eyes are just finally opening to who Danny Deuce is. Yeah.
I tried. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a legit talented player, but you got to protect it. Like there was a game, last game before I got hurt, they threw a screen pass to him, and everyone could see that what was coming. He still threw it, and he got absolutely hammered. This is the golden boy, and he was down and nobody even lifts him up. I'm like, this is your guy. Someone help this poor bugger out. He's getting just abused out there. He's so talented. He catches everything that comes close to him.
Well, you can imagine if Danny Dimes could actually throw a deep ball, how many more yards he'd have already. Like it's, I'm not sure who's worse at throwing deep balls, Danny Dimes or Bethel Thompson. So it's
maybe Dan will be here in a couple of years, but it's so to answer your question, we're tracking right where we need to be. So you got to make hard decisions at some point. And it's not working. Move on, right? What are you gonna do?
Strady, we will chat with you on the season opener next Tuesday here in North America for the NHL. Have a good one.
Right on. Fired up. Talk to you guys later.
There you go. That's Jason Strudwick. Joins us every Tuesday here on Sports 1440 Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Quick break. We'll come back. We got 5 questions. Spec will join us. I'm hearing Bethel Thompson. Are you kidding me? We'll talk about that and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Takeout presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for Kids Sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor Broadcasting Live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
This week at The Brick, when you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing savings throughout the store, like up to 30% off furniture, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $500 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, when you buy more, we give more. A portion of our sales will be donated to your local Children's Hospital Foundation, helping to transform children's lives with every purchase you make. Some exclusions apply. See in store or online at thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's #1.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Harris Wiener. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhawk beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Pick up some Wilhawk beef jerky today, because you don't win friends with salad.
Get ready to revolutionize your job site with Edmonton Kubota's game-changing compact construction equipment. From mini excavators and skid steers to track loaders, carriers, and utility vehicles, they have a model to fit every need, all powered by legendary Kubota diesel engines. These machines are built for performance and reliability. Transform your work with Edmonton Kubota's top-of-the-line compact equipment. Visit them today and see why they're the name you can trust for power and precision.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
4:55. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Is Trey Ford hurt? It's the only thing that makes sense. Bethel Thompson's actually starting again this weekend. Oh my goodness. It's well, hey, I think it's clear to where management and the coaches what they feel about Trey Ford. I think that's obvious. Hey, maybe they're right. But I can tell you Bethel Thompson isn't the answer. He can't connect a deep ball. Can't do it. So, hey, that's great. Thinking that they're going to make the play. That's what you're hoping on. Like, oh my goodness. So what? Then they're going to play Trey Ford in the final 2 weeks of the year. Or maybe they beat Saskatchewan and then they keep the faint hopes alive for another week. And then all you do is you waste a quarter of the season where you could have had Trey Ford gaining more experience. Unbelievable. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, saving you more. Hey, that's what they do all the time at the Brick. Buy more, save more. You can get your home holiday ready for Thanksgiving. Shop functional and stylish coffee tables starting at only $169. Nice. At The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
Gregor, very quickly, I went into the Brick on St. Albert Trail yesterday, bought a mattress. Shout out to Forrest. He was awesome. Helped us get the mattress purchased, and Saturday it'll be delivered.
There you go.
Looking forward to that one.
Nice.
Question number 1 for you. Do you think the late Pete Rose will ever be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I do not. Nope. They didn't do it while I was alive. I don't think they're going to do it while he's dead.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think some of the pressure goes away from it. Maybe the last couple of years as he aged, there might have been some pressure to do it, but they held firm. So I'm going to say no as well. You talked to Struddy about this one. Question number 2. What do you think the role will be for Josh Brown with the Oil this season?
Well, he's going to have to be physical, and he's going to have to kill penalties, and you know what? Try to be efficient and not get outscored 5-on-5. That's like, I'm not expecting him to provide a lot of offense. I think he's going to have to up his game from how he played. It's a few preseason games. I'm not going to, people are jumping off the ledge thinking he's just awful. Like, might be a little too early, but I would say, hey, he's got to be a little bit more engaged. No question.
Yeah, I'm like you. I mean, it's preseason. It's hard for me to get too worked up about anything that does happen. Guys might be trying new things. You never really know. But I'm intrigued to see what his role is with this team going forward. Question number 3. You talked about it. Is there any way, if you tried, you could justify the Elks sticking with McLeod Bethel Thompson at starting quarterback for the remainder of the season?
For me, no. I guess they're going to justify it by saying mathematically they still have a chance. And it's funny because they'll say mathematically they still have a chance. And they believe the guy who's 3-9 as a starter gives them a better chance than the guy who's 2-1. What type of math is that? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried last week. I tried to argue to, understand what they were doing. This week, I really don't get it. Not that, I'm going to put the blame to Winnipeg when your defense gives up 55.
Yeah, but everybody keeps saying to your defense, go back and look at the game. When your defense is on the field the entire damn time because your offense can't even get a first down.
I wasn't done talking. That's what I'm going to say.
And you've got missed opportunities downfield like that. I keep hearing, oh yeah, but their defense was so bad. Yeah, because they're on the field the whole time because the offense sucked.
I mean, I tweeted it out during the game. Going 2-0 doesn't help your defense at all. No. You're not giving them any opportunities. So that's where I was going to go. Like, you can blame the defense all you want, but the offense, they weren't getting a breather. They were going out there and then being forced right back on the field. So, yeah, I really don't get it. To me, it seems like Trey Ford might be done in Edmonton. Like, he might not be a part of their future plans because I don't know exactly what the plan is here. Question number 4 for you. Good or bad, what has been the biggest storyline for you in the NFL so far?
Vikings and Sam Darnold, without question. That's the best story in the NFL.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Commanders, actually.
Yeah, well, it's a good
new
one
coach
too.
And Jaden Daniels stepping in. Like, he looks so pro ready. Took him off to throw that first touchdown, but he navigates the pocket, his ability to take the ball down and run. They've been really fun to watch. And then I guess, just in terms of disappointments, I thought the NFC West would be a little bit better. You got the Niners who are just battling injury hell, as are the Rams. The Cards, after the first week, I thought that we might have a team here. Hasn't been the case. That division I thought would be a lot stronger. Final question for you today is World Vegetarian Day. So I want to ask you, do you think you could ever go without meat? And also, do you have a favorite vegetarian dish?
Oh, could I go without meat for a few days? 100%. Would I ever give up meat for the rest of my life? No, I would not. If you don't want to eat meat, that doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't impact my life. So why does eating meat impact your life? I don't know. But favorite vegetarian dish. I have had some outstanding vegetarian lasagnas, cottage cheese, and mixed lots of other things. So those would probably be my best vegetarian dishes that I can think of. Like we don't have like a staple of vegetarian in our house, so I can't. It's not like I have like a favorite mom dish, right? But places I've been where I've had a vegetarian, and actually, you know what? I've had a veggie burger a few times that are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could do it for too long. I like the meat every once in a while. Favorite vegetarian dish, like could I just say a cheese pizza? It's no meat there. It's not vegan friendly, but it's vegetarian. I have tried those things, Gregor. The vegetarian hamburger was okay. Chicken nuggets, you put enough sauce on them, they're okay. The hot dog I had was awful. We'll never do that again. So yeah, for me, the vegetarian lifestyle, it's just not it.
No. But hey, for those who do, good on you. I have no issue with it. I like meat. 5:02. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Let's get to Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice, as they will be celebrating their 25th year. They're bringing back some fan favorite smoothies, the original, Marathon, and the Orange Sickle. God, it was good. Download the Boosters Reward app and you can get one today, only at Booster Juice.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have placed Ben Gleason, Phil, Cam, Blaine Peterson, and Colin Delia on waivers for purpose of assignment. They also loaned James Hamlin to the Bakersfield Condors and Bo Akey back to the OHL's Barrie Colts. Major League Baseball playoffs today. Right now, Brewers and Mets tied at 4 apiece. That one's in the top of the 5th. Earlier today, Tigers knocked off the Astros, and it was the Royals over the Orioles, 1-0. All those games, game 1 of their series. Later tonight, you got game 1 between the Padres and the Braves. First pitch set for 6:30. Preseason action rolling on tonight. You got the Penguins and the Red Wings. The Devils take on the Rangers. Habs host the Sens. Flyers in Boston. Wild taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. Golden Knights in Colorado. And the Utah Hockey Club travels to Utah. From the NFL, 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Devontae Adams has informed the Vegas Raiders that he prefers to be traded, likely having played his last snap with the Silver and Black. That report comes from Ian Rappaport. While the league is suspending Buffalo Bills edge rusher Von Miller 4 games for violating the league's conduct policy. WNBA playoffs around Game 2, Liberty and Aces get going tonight at 5:30. Then at 7:30, got the Sun in Minneapolis taking on the Lynx. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Derek Van Diest from NHL.com. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
In West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin, CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
This week at the Brick, when you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing savings throughout the store, like up to 30% off furniture, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $500 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, when you buy more, we give more. A portion of our sales will be donated to your local Children's Hospital Foundation, helping to transform children's lives with every purchase you make. Some exclusions apply. See in store or online at thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
New Jizz Nuggets.
This is Nuge's Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, I don't know, Zachary Martin Hyman. Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge.
Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of Nuge's Nuggets.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantor, proudly delivering world-class hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada since 2016. I'm thrilled to announce our in-house production of tool components and accessories for faster turnarounds and enhanced versatility. The future is here at Cantor.com.
When was the last time your electricity and natural gas provider made you feel like this? Low rates, no strings attached, year-round perks, and local energy experts who always have your back. With Encore by EPCOR. Find that carefree energy feeling at encore.epcor.com/carefree.
Customers are free to purchase natural gas or electricity services from a retailer of their choice. For a list of retailers, visit ucahelps.alberta.ca or call 310-4822 toll-free.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. It's Terrific Tuesday. Get 40.
Tuesday afternoon on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. It is the Jason Gregor Show, presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game tonight. MLB road teams are 2-0 today, and you have the Mets on the road tonight. Also, the Braves heading to San Diego. And then, of course, all the teams will play again tomorrow. And if necessary, on Thursday, it is a best of 3. Friday will be a day off. And then the next round of the playoffs will begin on Saturday in New York and Philly and LA and in Cleveland. So, Cons, have you seen they announced Cleveland's playoff roster? Is our boy on it? Eric the man will have to check it out. I haven't looked, so hopefully he is. We had him on last week, so hoping he gets a call. It's been great. Like he can't. I don't know if he can look and say, "Geez, I wish I could have done more." I think there's not much more he could have done in every appearance. He was all he did was get better. It was great. Let's get to the spec report now, brought to you by GS Construction. And always reminding you, they are the underground infrastructure leaders. All the work that you don't see, but is super vital. That is GS Construction. As Mark Spector joins us. Spec, good afternoon. The preseason, thankfully, is almost over. The Oilers have really down now to their final cuts. They have a few extra forwards, an extra defenseman, and an extra goalie right now because Calvin Pickard isn't practicing. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think we could have picked this team 2 weeks ago, Jay. I guess the one guy that you probably is a surprise that I have a feeling might hang around here would be Noah Philp. But after that, I think it's going to be Stetcher and Josh Brown are going to be your 6 and 7 defensemen in some order. And if they keep a 13th forward, I'm starting to think it's going to be Noah Philp. But after that, we saw the 4 lines today. I could have written those 4 lines for you on September 1st, pal. They're the exact lines we thought they were going to be.
Yeah. Well, I look at Noah Philp, and I think the way he's played thus far. Now, there's 2 very important games. And that can change things. It's, there are more NHL rosters. But today I watched Phil very close in practice to see, okay, how does he look? Because now the pace picked up today. It was obvious anybody watching would see, I even put a video out on social just to show it. Like the pace today was so much faster than any other practice we've seen all training camp. And I get it, right? Like Connor McDavid said last night, now you got to get to that next level. And so you did it. And I watched Phil closely, Spec. He did not look out of place at all. If anything, I felt he picked up his game and looked even better.
Well, that's, I know this. There are for sure levels, and today is a good example of a little micro level that everything moves up to. We just got rid of most of the pretenders here. It's a 90% NHL player practice, and there's little things going on. Connor McDavid went to Knobloch over the weekend and said, "I want to play the rest of these games." Now that can change. We'll see if he plays both of the next two, but he told his coach, "I want to play this thing out because I need the reps." He said to us after the game, he wanted to move from just playing to actually getting involved and having some contact. He said less of a swinging, which to me means less big circles and less being on the perimeter. He drilled that Yaramaki.
Yeah.
What's his first name? Jonathan, last night in a very hard hit. Just looked like a guy. He's ramping it up, and everybody's following Connor McDavid's lead here. I'll tell you what, I won't promise you they'll win every game, but I will promise you this team won't have a lazy, easy-going 2-9-1 start this year. There's great expectations in that room set by the captain for this start, and anyone who gives it anything less than 100%, they're going to hear about it this year.
Yeah, I know that's probably fair. What about the defense? Emberson's going to start the season with Nurse, and we'll kind of see how it plays out. What's your expectations for the third pair right defenseman in Brown and Stetcher?
Well, it's a good question. I think it'll be a bit of a platoon between those two. I personally, if I'm the coach right now, if I'm picking, I'm picking Stetcher. I'm picking Stetcher to play on that pair. Now, there's going to be games, the Oilers without Kane, they don't have a ton of physicality, and Brown can give you some of that. So there will be games where you want Brown to play. I can see what's going on in town already. There's a lot of people ready to jump on the Josh Brown can't play bandwagon, because CC's gone now. So you got to pick on somebody. I'm not doing that. He wasn't great last night. It's one game. Let's talk 2 weeks into the season here. But if you're asking me who I would put on that third pairing with Kulak tomorrow if the season started, I would put Stetcher. But I would also be thinking I'm going to platoon those two guys. What about you?
Yeah, I think we could see, based on who the matchup is, a bigger physical team. I think you might have Brown in there more. And then you'll get Stetcher in. It seems like Brown's going to get the first look, but Troy Stetcher's played almost 500 games, and Troy Stetcher has a chip on his shoulder. Not as a negative. I just think he feels like he always has to prove himself. And right, and that's understandable. I get it. And so, I think he skates better now. The preseason games, Brown hasn't looked good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he has by any stretch of the imagination. I asked Struddy about it. My concern was I saw a few too many situations last night when he's in battles and he's losing battles. I'm like, if he's losing battles, what the hell else is he doing? He's got to win the battles. So, that's something that I'll be watching for closer. I'm not expecting him to move the puck and be this great puck mover. That's not his game. And so I never asked players to be what they're not. The Oilers signed him not to be a puck mover. At least I would hope they didn't, because that's not what he is. Now, sure, everybody can try to improve it, but there's only limitations to what you can do. So I think Brown, these next two games, Spec, might even decide it. I think they're giving him the opportunity to go with Kulak first, but it's going to be up to him to keep it. And I don't think he'll have a long leash. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably a very fair assessment. Someone said the other day, well, remember Desharnais showed up here and he wasn't that good with the puck, and Coffey went to work on him, and look how much he improved. But as Jim Matheson said very quickly, yeah, Desharnais wasn't 30 years old. Brown is. Right? Yeah. Brown's not, I don't see a guy like Vinny Desharnais who from the start of the season to the end improved markedly. I don't see that unless Coffey is a magician. I think it's pretty much what you see is what you get with Josh Brown. So look, it's preseason. I can name about 3 or 4 players who haven't done a darn thing yet, and they're good players and they're going to be fine. I'll give Josh Brown a preseason to get his game in order. We'll start judging players when the season starts and the real bullets get fired here.
Switching over to the Elks, they go into Winnipeg, Spec, and I didn't think they were going to win that game. I think Winnipeg's just a very good team, and I know everybody's going to point to the defense, and rightfully so, but the offense did nothing to help them in the first half because they couldn't get a first down. They couldn't stay on the field. And so the defense never got any time to kind of catch their breath, and they got burnt deep. And the thing was, the Elks had 3 plays where the receivers did their job and were behind the coverage, and Bethel Thompson couldn't hit the guy. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't like it was a fingertip catch or anything. Like, we're talking 5 yards over his head. So now they're going to continue to go with Bethel Thompson. I guess the argument's going to be because they're still mathematically in the playoff hunt. And so if they're using math, they're going with the guy who, when he starts, they're 3-9, and not the guy when he starts is 2-1. It's an odd mathematical equation for me.
Yeah, I'm on your side on this one. Bethel Thompson, we know what he is, and he's not getting any better at it. He hasn't been able to throw the long ball all year. That's not going to change. He's completely immobile in the pocket. That's not going to change. He doesn't roll out effectively. That's not going to change. He's an old quarterback who's just getting older. That's not going to change. There's a lot of question marks with Trey Ford, but we don't know the answer to all those questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I prefer Trey Ford. I don't know the answer to the Trey Ford question. How much better can he get? I don't know. How much, when he gets some reps and gets some confidence, how much more poised can he be in the pocket before he sprints out of it? I don't know. So at this point, listen, they're not making the playoffs. Continuing to run Bethel Thompson out there just puts the nail in the coffin that Trey Ford's even coming back here. And really, this organization needs to it's going to have to take a long look at who it is and what it wants to be here, Jason. There's no stability at this point. Everybody's contracts are all running out at the same time. No one's thinking of the future. They're all thinking of the present, which isn't wise. So, you know what? Let's get this season over with, and let's trust that the owner and Rick Lawlisher can start to build something here that's got some stability and some stay-in power on it.
Yeah, no question about that. Mark Spector,
Lawlisher's hanging for a while, isn't he?
No, they're hiring a president, and my understanding is that should be complete here very soon. And so, no, Rick was there to kind of help through the selling of the team, but he had no interest in wanting to stick around longer. And so, no, they're Larry Thompson's. This first thing is they're going to hire a president, and I think Spec, you'll have that announcement before the end of the month, and then they'll move from there. And because obviously, the president's going to, I guess with the owner, they're going to, maybe it doesn't have a board, but depending on who the president is it somebody that's going to have a say in hiring the GM?
Oh, well, I heard Larry Thompson say that they're looking for a president with a lot of CFL experience, right? He said that in the TV interview that I watched. So he wants a guy that can go, he wants an experienced CFL person who can then find the right GM, and together they will then find the right coach. And this isn't me saying Jarius Jackson and G. Roy Simon aren't the right guys. I don't have a clue if they're the right guys, but someone needs to get chosen here. They need to choose the right guy, whatever his name is, and get a guy who's not only thinking of today, but also thinking of tomorrow. That's what's killing the Trey Ford experiment right now. Any coach with years left in his contract would be playing Trey Ford, not Bethel Thompson. But that's not the case in Edmonton right now.
Yeah, no, I'm just perplexed. Unless there's something behind the scenes with Trey Ford, it doesn't make sense to me. I can't think of an organization that has a young quarterback that when he's played has had decent success. He had one bad game against Winnipeg. One. And people act like, oh my God, he can never, but hey, let's go with the 36-year-old who's 3-9. So, and I don't get it at all.
You know what's a shame here? This is a really good example, Jason, of what's happened in the media in general and in the sports media business. There was a time when there was a couple of beat writers down there. There was a time when the Journal had a columnist, be myself or Dan Barnes or Cam Cole. Terry Jones would be on the other side of the sun. We'd know all of these questions. We'd know if there's something wrong with Trey Ford. We'd know who the receivers want to have in there. We'd know what Jarius Jackson and Trey Ford's relationship's like. Nobody covers that team. Nobody goes in that dressing room and has any sources. And here we are sitting on the radio. I don't have a hot clue what kind of guy Trey Ford is, what kind of situations happen in that room. No one covers the team, man. People out there who say you don't need journalists, then you go find the answers to these things, because I'd love to know what they are.
Yeah. So, you know what, man? Me too. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have the GM our interim GM on the program this week to kind of just get a thought process from the organization. I think it'd be important. Like, hey, maybe I'm missing something. We'll see.
Yeah, I know we're missing something. There's stuff going on here that we don't know, man. For sure.
No.
Trey Ford, bad relationship with Chris Jones. Frankly, I don't blame him. I didn't like Chris Jones much myself. But I wonder how his relationship is with the new guy. You know, I don't know the answer to the question.
Spec, we will chat with you tomorrow as the Oilers have their second last preseason game.
Oh, we're coming to the finish line, man. Thank goodness.
Yeah, tell me about it. Seems like the longest preseason ever. I don't know why, but this year just seems to be dragging on more than anyone that I can remember.
Oh, my God. Does it ever? Yeah. Okay, brother. Talk to you tomorrow.
Well, have a good one. There you go. That's the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. We will continue to talk some hockey. DVD is by, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Edmonton, all wrapped into one. We'll talk to DVD. Covers them all next on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the word. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Are you ready for full throttle fun? Because the 2024 Alberta Snowmobile ATV and Off-Road Show is back, baby. With over 100,000 square feet of displays and great prizes to be won. See the 2025 lineup of sleds, ATVs, and side-by-sides. Loads of fun and entertainment for all ages. Check out albertasnowmobileshow.ca for more information. The Alberta Snowmobile ATV and Off-Road Show, presented by GMC. October 18th and 19th at the Expo Center. Kids are free. Tickets at the door.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. By then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me. Genius technicians who check every component, dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to Noble, and we'll take care of you.
And that's Noble.
NoBullRV.ca. For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And now the value is better than ever. Don't miss your chance to pay what Ford employees pay during the factory authorized employee pricing event. You'll see real invoice pricing on all vehicles, like savings up to $16,000 on Super Duty models. It's Ford employee pricing, but only until September 30th, where cars always cost less. Denham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
Cars cost less than Wetaskiwin.
5:25. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. You can always get in the email inbox, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Ewell, your partner in power since 1976. They got their 24/7 website now available for you to purchase everything you need for all your electrical gear. It's ewel.ca. As we update you on MLB, as mentioned, the road teams so far 2-0 tonight, and could it make it 3-0? I don't know if they're the miracle Mets, because that was 1969, but some are calling them the miraculous Mets. They're up 8-4 over Milwaukee in the top of the sixth. So, the Brew Crew. Can you imagine that? You're the home teams. You come in and you're just getting spanked, and it's a best of three. Now you got to get going. So, Atlanta and San Diego will be the final game tonight. So, man, the playoffs have been great. We had 2 low-scoring games, and now we're seeing some offense between the Mets and Milwaukee. Let's get to the oil report, brought to you by VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Stop in right now. You can get great deals. How about save up to $8,000 on XC90s and 1.49% financing at Canada's #1 Volvo dealership, VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Derek Van Dies from NHL.com joins us, covers the Jets, the Flames, the Canucks, and the Edmonton Oilers. And DVD, it was almost Abbotsford and half of the Oilers last night. It looks like both teams, when they meet on Friday, are going to have close to, if not full, NHL rosters. JT Miller's going to play his first game on Friday. Quinn Hughes is going to play his second preseason game on Friday. The Oilers, meanwhile, have a game in Seattle tomorrow. Calvin Pickard, let's start there. He didn't skate with the team. He did skate on his own today. What'd you take away from what Knobloch said about Pickard?
Well, he said he'd be ready, right? I don't know. Like I don't know how serious it is. It looked like he whacked his head pretty hard, pretty good the other night. I don't know when we first asked Knobloch about it, he said, "I should be okay," just because his neck is sore, he should be okay. But yeah, that's a good question. He doesn't have to play. He's going to back up. Obviously, Stuart Skinner's going to be the starting goalie. But no, it'll be interesting to see if he comes back today. I was kind of on the outside of the scrum today. It was pretty loud. Pucks were ringing off the glass and stuff like that. So I don't know if there was asked about Knobloch today, but I was trying to get in there and to listen. But no, I think he should be okay. He should, according to Chris Knobloch. We'll see what happens with him, and then go from there. But Stuart Skinner was interesting. We asked Stuart Skinner today, how many starts that he would like, how many starts would be in his wheelhouse before it goes to playoffs, and he said he wanted to play 82 games. So it'll be interesting to see how many Stuart Skinner plays. But looks like he'll be ready to go. Everybody will be ready to go. Nurse is the question mark, I think. If Nurse doesn't play tomorrow, will he play Friday? All signs point to yes, he'll get at least 1 or 2 games in. So we'll see where that goes. But looks like we're ready to go here. 2 more games. They got a little team building thing that they're going to do on Thursday between the 2 games. That they're going to stay on the road. And then, hopefully we can drop the puck on the season next week.
Yeah, well, Nurse is going to play one of the 2, Knobloch said, for sure. It's just a matter of which one, and he might even play both. So, I think ideally, listening to Connor McDavid last night, I think they want Nurse to play both games if he can, right? There's many of the guys to play. It feels like, you want to get the group together, and, they're going to have some team bonding on their road trip as well. I think they're doing something on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll see. We'll kind of see, how it goes for them. But I look at the biggest question heading into next Monday, when the Oilers have to make the roster final at 3:00, is Noah Philp going to be on the roster? Because a lot of reasons why he should be.
Yeah, he's played so well. And obviously a great story. He kind of left the game, didn't play for a while, came back, and he's a great player. He was a great player for the Bears. He was a really good junior player, and so now the question is, can he come in here and be the Oilers' 13th forward? And he's making a pretty strong case so far. He's making a strong case. He's a guy that can obviously skate at this level. He reads the game really well. We've seen that he can finish, and so that's the issue. But how do you kind of go from not playing for whatever it was, 16 months or whatever, or the last time he played was 16 months ago, to jumping into the NHL? And, anyone that saw the Bears or saw him play with the Bears knows that he's such a talented player. He's always been a very, very talented player. But he's a feel-good story. It'd be a great story if he can come in here and make this team. But, Knobloch said at kind of the beginning of training camp, that would be very, very tough for him because he hasn't played so long. So to him to go to the American Hockey League, get some games under his belt, then come back up here. But, yeah, there's a lot of talk that, hey, he's outplaying some of these other guys, and he might get an opportunity to stick around here and to make the opening day roster after all he's gone through. It's just been unbelievable. It would be an unbelievable story. It'd be an unbelievable feel-good story. And it just shows you how talented this young man is. He's always been a talented player. He's come up through the ranks. We always saw how talented he was. You know what? He's probably got a good thing that his coach is a former Golden Bear as well. So I think that bodes well for him. Obviously, Chris Knobloch, ton of respect for that program. He came through that program. A lot of guys have come through that program. Derek Ryan came through that program. And so I think he's got that going for him, the fact that, hey, Chris Knobloch knows how good that program is. And if you're a standout in that program, you always have a shot to get to the next level. So I think a lot of people are rooting for him, that if he can do this, he can make that starting roster or can make the roster of opening night. That'll be a great story, and I think a great accomplishment for him.
Oh, 100%. Like, he's looked good, DVD. I like a lot about his game, and he's an intriguing prospect on an organization that's going to need kind of, like some found money in a case of Noah Philp, right? Yeah. Unsigned free agent, comes out of U Sport. Not a lot of people were talking about him, and boom, he makes your roster and become a contributing player. That's huge, especially for a team that's not going to have, I don't think they're going to have a lot of draft picks. So, naturally your odds of a draft pick hitting are low. Like, if you can get 2 in a draft class, that's really good. And 2 that can play 200 games. Yeah. So you have to find players elsewhere in the free agent market as veterans. And that's what Philp is trending to become.
Yeah, he is trending to become, but also we gotta be wary here, because there's been in the past, there's been guys that have looked really good in exhibition season. Like, you can count all those guys that looked really good in exhibition season, and then come regular season, it's a different animal. The stakes obviously go up a little. Now you're playing against seasoned NHL veterans, and sometimes you get kind of lost in that space. So I know that a good preseason doesn't necessarily mean that you can play the game at the regular season level. But yeah, if you can come in here and you can find these guys, and the Oilers, they're going to get late draft picks for the next few years if they succeed and they keep doing well, they keep going far. And so you got to beat the bushes and find these guys and get these guys and get guys that can come in and contribute on your bottom 6. And I think he's a guy that can do that. What I like about him is that he can skate at this level. And I think that's if you can keep up at this level, you can skate at this level. I think everything else you can kind of develop, but you can't really teach skating at this level. If you can either skate or you can't. And this is a guy that, to me, so far, watching him play, he can keep up at this level, which is it's a huge bonus for him.
Oh, yeah, without question. It's a massive bonus. DVD, I know you got season tickets. You go to all the games. The Elks go into Winnipeg. Not surprising. I didn't think they were going to win the game. Their defense couldn't get a stop because it couldn't get off the field, because anytime the Elks offense got in the field in the first half, it was basically a 2-and-out. Or the one time they turn it over at midfield because they couldn't get a yard on third down. And, Bethel Thompson 3 times in the first, 35 minutes. You had guys who had beaten their man, were open by a stride or two, and he missed him. And then boom, it's 2-and-out, 3-and-out, 2-and-out, 4-and-out. And they got crushed in that game, but they're sticking with Bethel Thompson. Any idea why?
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on down there. I don't know what the situation. You're right. You blame a lot on the defense. They couldn't make a stop, but if you're going in there 2-and-out, if you're a defensive player, you go to the sidelines, you take a drink of water, suddenly, oh, geez, there you go. They're punching down. Now you got to get back on the field. It's tough when your offense can't sustain any momentum and can't sustain drives. That's tough on your defense. They got to keep going out there and out there and out there and out there. I don't understand what the situation is going on. And like Speck was saying, there's not a lot of coverage for this team anymore. There's not a lot of people down there asking questions and saying, hey, what is going on? Why are you keep playing this guy? He's not successful. The other guy got the hook pretty quickly. Like, he came back after 5 weeks off, and they gave him a half, and then they pulled him out in the third quarter. And I remember when I was at that game, And I was thinking to myself, well, did he get hurt? Like, why are they pulling him? Like, this is your guy. If he's your guy, why are you just pulling him right away? Bethel Thompson couldn't complete a pass, and he stayed in the game. And I was like, it was a situation where there's something going on there. There's something going on in that dressing room. I don't know what it is, but you know what? I get a sense they're going to come in with a new coaching staff next year. It's going to be a fresh start. But I do not know why they keep playing this Bethel Thompson over Trey Ford when Trey Ford is obviously the fan favorite. He's the more exciting quarterback. He's a younger quarterback. He's a guy that can keep the play alive, like even when things break down in front of him. Yeah, he may be not the complete pocket passer, but he's a guy that the play never dies with him. He can keep the play alive running around. Bethel Thompson, the guy's not open. He's not going anywhere. He doesn't extend plays at all. So, yeah, I do not understand the thinking here. I do not understand the philosophy. And, you know, watching the other day, if I was Trey Ford and they'd come to me in the fourth quarter and say, hey, you want to go in? I would have said no. Like, this is ridiculous. This is your guy. You made your bed. Now you lie in it. And I think this is going to be the end of the coaching staff for the Elks, because coming next year, they need someone fresh. They need someone to come in here and say, okay, you know what? Let's start fresh. If this is your guy, like if Trey Ford, if you feel Trey Ford is capable of being a starting quarterback, then you got to go with him. Like you started the year 0-7 for crying out loud. He turned your season around. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm still a fan. I'll go out there and still support this football team, but I don't understand what's going on in that dressing room to continually pass this guy over.
Yeah, it's odd to me. There's no question about it. It's really odd. One last one for you, DVD. You look around the NHL. So as the season's about to begin, which team, maybe which player, what's your storyline outside of Edmonton that you'll be most watching?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a good question. There'll be. I want to know what's going to go on with Boston with Swayman, to be honest with you. I want to know that. To me right now, that's the most intriguing storyline in the NHL. The Bruins look like they're a championship caliber team. They decided on a goalie, and now they can't sign that goalie that they decided on. And yesterday or the day before, president of the organization says, hey, there's 64 million reasons for this guy to come play with us. An hour and a half later, the agent says, wait a minute, no one's offered us $64 million. There's no $64 million offer. It's become a really ugly negotiation. If you can't sign your number one goalie, what are you going to do? You've already traded the other guy. Like, it was a great tandem, the best tandem in the NHL, Allmark and Swayman, and you traded Allmark, and now you can't sign Swayman. It was such a botched thing from the very beginning. So I'm intrigued to see what's going on, what's going to happen in Boston. I still think Boston is a championship caliber team, but if they can't sign Swayman, then what's going to happen out east? And I think the East is going to be, there's still a lot of good teams there. The Rangers are going to be good. The Leafs are going to be good. Florida's still going to be good. But yeah, I'm really intrigued of what the situation is going to be in Boston. And it's really weird how these negotiations have now gone into the media. He said, she said. Was it $64 million? Was it $62 million? Swayman wants in the area of $8.5 million a year. It's unbelievable. You're on the eve of the season. You don't have your starting goalie signed, and now you're lobbying things in the press over. He said this. He didn't say this. They never offered us this. To me, right now, it's really going to be interesting how things settled in Boston.
DVD, great stuff, buddy. Enjoy the baseball playoffs, and we will chat regular season hockey with you next Tuesday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait for the puck to drop, and hopefully it should be a fun year. Thanks for having me on.
There you go, buddy. That's Derek Vandy. So the question I have to wrap up the show today, we'll ask Connor Halley and all of you. What is your one storyline, non-Oilers, that you're most intrigued by in the NHL this year? Could be a player, could be a team. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440 in our inbox.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Gather around, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the words. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
This week at the Brick, when you buy more, you save more. Shop amazing savings throughout the store, like up to 30% off furniture, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $500 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, when you buy more, we give more. A portion of our sales will be donated to your local Children's Hospital Foundation, helping to transform children's lives with every purchase you make. Some exclusions apply. See in store or online at thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
This is Kevin Carries from Sports 1440. Join me at Century Sports Bar and Lounge for a big watch party. We'll be showing the first big game of the season this Friday at 8 p.m. That's the Sports Bar at Century Casino, Fort Road, Edmonton. We will see you there.
For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And now the value is better than ever. Don't miss your chance to pay what Ford employees pay during the factory authorized employee pricing event. You'll see real invoice pricing on all vehicles, like savings up to $16,000 on Super Duty models. It's Ford employee pricing, but only until September 30th, where cars always cost less. Denham Ford, in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and the time to think about winterizing your RV is before the snow flies. There's a lot of steps you need to take to winterize your trailer or motorhome.
And you have to get every step right every single time. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bob, because if you make even a little mistake, you might not realize it till spring. And by then, it's too late to fix what you got wrong.
Hey, Rick, do you winterize your own trailer?
Not anymore, Bob. I hired people who are smarter than me. Genius technicians who check every component. Dozens of systems to be maintained and protected. And today, we offer that service to you, starting at $99. Every winterization package comes with a full report in writing, so you know what to expect come spring. If you're confident to do it yourself, have at it. If you're like me and you'd rather have this done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then come to No Bull, and we'll take care of you.
And that's No Bull.
NoBullRV.ca.
.445, Gregor, Halley, Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Busy show. Lots of texts flying in now at 833-401-1440. Cons, before we get some texts, what is your What is your story that you'll be watching in the NHL this year?
Well, I mean, I can't be the only one to think this, but Ovi, I think seeing what he has this season, the revamped Capitals, their success as a whole is one thing, but we want to see if he's going to catch that record and what does he have? Can he get off to a hot start to make this realistically possible? So Ovi's the one that stands out for me, and I will say I also got a little bit of a side eye on that Utah Hockey Club, not only to see how the state and the city supports the team, but they got some nice young players, and they went on some streaks last year. They looked okay, so I think those are two things I'll be watching from afar.
They're following in the footsteps of Atlanta. Did you see that? $2 and $3 menus. And Atlanta, the numbers backed up that lowering the price of their concession, they ended up making the same amount of money. People were way happier. So $2 and $3 menu items in Utah this year for both, because he owns the Jazz and the hockey club. So if you're going to those games, pretty good price point. So Oiler fans who like to travel, you're probably thinking, hey, I've never been to Utah. I'm going to Utah, $2 and $3. Hey, sign me up for that. Ramoran's the same as you. Hey, boys, Ovi's going to do it. 42 goals. That's a story for me. Hey, guys, a story for me outside of Edmonton, because, of course, I have lots of Edmonton stories, says Jack, is can Matthews score 70 goals? 70 goals is a pretty big number. What do you have, 69 last year? So, yeah, why not? It's like McDavid chasing 150 again. How about Connor McDavid? So, Connor McDavid, I know this, I'll get back to the text non-orders, but just so you know, Connor McDavid, there's only Marcel Dion, Phil Esposito, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, who have scored 130 points or more 3 times in their career. Dion did it 3 years in a row. Espos did it 4 years in a row. Gretzky did it 12 years and ended up doing it 13 times. Now, Lemieux's never done it 3 years in a row because of injuries and, health issues. But so McDavid could become the 5th guy with 130 points 3 times, but the 4th guy with 130 points 3 years in a row. And it might have been 4, because remember 2021 when he had 100 points in 56 games? He was on pace for 150 points again that season. So we'll see. Hey, guys, I want to see, did the Canucks improve on last season, and are they better in the playoffs? From Smoky Lake Trumpet. Hey, guys, I'm interested to see how Gensel looks beside Kucherov and Point from Spaghetti. I'm interested to see what the line up will be for them, because, usually, their line combination now, is he going to load up that entire top line? They have been in the preseason. Right, they've had Point with Kucherov and Gensel, and then they had Hago with Cirelli and Connor Sheary. Now, would they move Jake Gensel down maybe and play him with Cirelli? Or Cirelli, excuse me, not Shirelli, Cirelli. So that's kind of a little bit of a difference, right? They load up the one line. That could be a hell of a line. There's no question about that. And Hedman's playing with Moser, McDonough's with Cernak, and then I'll tell you, man, Nick Perbix. Do not sleep on Nick Perbix. He is a good young defenseman, but the depth in Tampa Bay is definitely not like their bottom 6 is now. I like Nick Paul, but right now it's Cam Atkinson, Mitchell Chaffee, Gergensen, Luke Glendening, Jesse Alonen, kind of all guys who are on other teams. So it's a little bit of a cast off line. Now maybe it'll play well. We'll see. John Cooper, though, that's why I picked John Cooper to be my coach of the year for Tampa Bay, because they made a lot of changes. And you can't always, you can't just assume, they got a few good players. That means there's no good coaching done, right? Chris Knobloch, the Oilers went on a great run, but people are like, man, he made a difference. I think coaching, obviously you need good players. There's no question, but coaching can make a difference. And John Cooper, funny enough, for all the winning he's done, has never won coach of the year. It's kind of odd to me. Very odd. Guys, I know Gregor's a big fan, but I hope he doesn't break Gretzky's record. That'd be unfortunate for Randy. I guess my question is, why would it be unfortunate? Gretzky himself is on record as saying, I hope he breaks it. Records are made to be broken. He broke Gordie Howe's record. No one's ever breaking Gretzky's point record. Well, I shouldn't say never. It would seem highly unlikely that someone's going to break his points record. But maybe you never know. Maybe there's some kid that comes along and is all of a sudden scoring 150 points every year. Because even if, like McDavid, think about it. Where he's at right now, McDavid would need like 8 more years of 150 point seasons, which would still only give him 12. That would put him at 2,100. That's how crazy that is. Well, just under 22, I guess, because he's at 982. Hey, guys, I want to see if Nashville is a contending team or overpaying free agency. It's a good one, JC. I'm curious about Nashville. Like, everybody's like, oh, they won. And I think, you know what, for short term, yeah, maybe. But like Tampa Bay, Steven Stamkos' 5-on-5 play last year wasn't great. Now, maybe it's only a one-off year for him. So we will, we'll see.
How many goals for Tommy Novak, Gregor, if he's going to play with Marchessault and Stamkos? You think he can be a sleeper maybe in fantasy?
But point totals, not so much a goal scorer, but I think point totals, yeah, he might. Like, I don't know, what did Tommy Novak have last year? 42 points, something like that, 44? If he's going to play all year with those guys, and then how much power play time is he going to get? Yeah, I could see him being a 55-point guy. What did he have last year?
45 in 71 games.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I could see him 55, 60-point player. No question about it. I like it.
Nice little line to drop into if he can hold it down.
Hey, guys, I want to see how Vegas can circumvent a rule this year from Jordan. Now, Jordan, what if Evander Kane sits out all season and then plays in game 1 of the playoffs? Are you going to be mad that the Oilers circumvented the salary cap? I bet you they won't be. I'm just saying. Just saying. Have yourselves a great Tuesday. Enjoy the baseball playoffs. We'll talk hockey. We have a special Who Is It Wednesday guest tomorrow. TR is in for his new Wednesday time, 4 to 6. So have yourselves an awesome night. Let's get to Con Man, a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 full year on your furnace. Before it gets too cold, plan ahead, legacyheating.ca. Good night. That's the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have placed Ben Gleason, Phil Kemp, Lane Peterson, and Colin Delia on waivers for purpose of assignment. They've also loaned James Hamlin to the Bakersfield Condors and Bo Akey going back to the OHL's Barrie Colts. On the ice tonight in the preseason, the following games are at the first intermission, scoreless in Pittsburgh between the Penguins and the Red Wings. Devils and Rangers tied at 1 apiece. Habs up on the Sens 1-0, and the Flyers trailing the Bruins 1-0 as well. Later tonight, Wild take on the Blackhawks. Jackets in St. Louis, the Avs hosting Vegas, and the Hockey Club of Utah heading to San Jose. Major League Baseball playoffs right now, top of the 8th. In the NL wildcard game 1, the Mets lead the Brewers 8-4. Earlier today, the Tigers took a 1-0 series lead over the Astros, winning 3-1. The Royals do the same, blanking the Orioles 1-0. Later tonight, the Padres host the Braves. First pitch set for 6:30. WNBA action right now. The Aces lead the Liberty 27-21 in the first quarter. New York leads that series 1-0. Later tonight, UConn looks to take a 2-0 series lead over Minnesota. Tip-off 7:30. And some news from the NFL. 6-time Pro Bowl wideout and a 3-time All-Pro, Devontae Adams, has informed the Vegas Raiders he would prefer to be traded. That comes from Ian Rappaport. And the NFL is suspending Buffalo Bills edge rusher Von Miller 4 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. That'll do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio. Then tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., Kevin Carius, Brandon Douglas, and former NHLer David Schlemko return. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6.